seventh day, if I am not wrong. But as far as the execution of this program is concerned, actually we have taken into account the request of the institution, and accordingly the sessions are basically planned. You must have seen that the sessions are not being engaged uh, on a regular interval, that is from some day 3 to 6, maybe 2 to 4. And today, even though we are having a Sunday and you are all in a festive mood, I very well know, because we have got consecutive holidays, right? But since it was suggested by the management of your institution and the coordinator, that's why we have kept this session on Sunday, that too early in the morning, that is 10:30 to 1:30. So, good morning, friend. I hope you are enjoying all the sessions. Whatever best resource person we could manage, we have tried, and tomorrow again you will get good resource person. But as far as today's session is concerned, okay, as Ankit has pointed out, as a matter of fact, there are eight major themes of this NEP orientation and sensitization. Okay, so out of eight, probably we are finished with six. Okay, and two themes are left. Okay, so I'll be with you for around 3 hours or so. So we may touch two important aspects of this NEP orientation and sensitization. One is definitely the ICT orientation and all, and the second is research and development. Because I realized when I was going through the schedule, I realized that R&D is again not covered, right? So we will have two sessions. First session probably will start with, if you, it is up to you to decide. Okay, and as we are repeatedly telling you, that is, this program, the modus operandi of this program is little bit different. Why it is so? Because this is where we are talking about the orientation and sensitization. So it is expected that the active participation of all the participant is essentially needed in this kind of program. Anyway, nonetheless, we will start with the session. Probably we'll start with R&D first. Okay, in research and development, again we have got, that is one thematic area, but under that theme again we have so many things. Okay, so I'll touch upon one important aspect which is very much important for all of us uh, as a teaching fraternity, is the ethical issues, that is the integrity, academic integrity, okay, and publication ethics. That is one thing we will just try. I may go a little fast because I have to cover two things. Second is we will go ahead with what is ICT, and if time permits, we will have some hands-on on some of the tools, right? So this is how I have chopped down the entire 3 hours session. Okay, so you just allow me to share my presentation, but again, I am a little bit surprised because, as I said, that the programs are scheduled as per the convenience of the organizing institute, but still only 24, 26 participants are there. As a matter of fact, we have around 96 registration for this particular program. Anyway, leave apart, but let us begin with the very first component, as I have told you, that is the academic integrity. Right? Allow me to share my presentation. Okay. Let me share my entire screen. Right. So I hope my slides are visible to you. Yes, any one of you just confirm.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me put it in presentation mode. Yes, whether the slides are changing. Any one of you just confirm.
Yes,
Because
sir.
many times we are facing problems. Okay, that's why I'm confirming. What happens? I go on
Yes, sir.
talking, and later on somebody come up with a comment, sir, your slides, you are still on slide number 1. Okay. So, dear friends, as I've told you, that is, we will talk on academic integrity and research and publication ethics. Okay. Uh, as I said, R&D is one of the integral component of this NEP 2020. So what has happened, I'll be sharing you some of my experiences. As Ankit has pointed out, I have spent around 35 years roughly. I joined my job way back in 1990. Did my graduation from government engineering. Next day onwards, I was working there as a lecturer those days. Right. So you may find some of this stuff based on my experience, whatever little experience I have gathered over a period of this 3.5 decades. Right. So if you look at this particular component, again, we may have some, you can say, brainstorming on this, whether research is needed for teaching or not. But now, if you look at the changing scenario, I very well remember when I joined, I was a simple BE Tech, okay, and in first class. And those days, that much qualification was enough for getting a teacher's job, right? So I am into teaching since probably 24th July, if I'm not wrong, 1990, right? And as I said, those days only undergrad, that is BTech, was the enough criteria for becoming a lecturer in any institution, right? But what has happened over a period of time, uh, the the expectations of the government or the regulating agencies like say UGC and AICT has changed drastically. Now they expect a lot of things apart from teaching from the teachers. Okay, and based on that, if you look at even the NAC or NBA criteria, you will realize that some people feel that the undue importance has been given to research and development, but there are reasons to it. But anyway, we may have some deliberation on those aspects as well. I will take your comment as well in my session. I would love to hear from you what is your take on all those issues and so on. But anyway, this is what is there on the agenda, wherein we will be discussing academic integrity, and the another important component we will just try to dwell into is the research and publication ethics. So before I start my deliberation, right, I would love to hear from you what is your perception about integrity. So what is integrity in general? Any one of you? As I said, the modality of executing this program is little bit different, wherein it is expected that all the participants, they should participate in the deliberation, right? And that is the only reason for posing all these questions and getting you involved. So, what is your understanding of integrity? It is a very generic term, okay? And if I don't know whether it is there in your pro forma or not, but whenever we write our performance appraisal, okay, what we used to call it in general as the confidential reports or CR, okay, there is one important column which talks about the integrity and character of the incumbent involved. So, what is your take on integrity? What is it exactly? Any one of you? I hope you people are with me. I know it's Sunday. Okay, I know everything, but as I said, it is based on your request. Okay, the session is being being run on that particular day, right? So what is it? What is it? Any one of you want to come up with what is integrity is all about? Hello, are you with me? Yes, Mohan Tasre sir or anybody else? Yes. What is your take on integrity? What is it exactly? What is your perception? Okay, again, language is not a barrier because NEP has allowed, right? Rather, we have got now in a rightful way of dealing with any concept for that purpose, whether it is teaching or learning. Okay, we can go ahead. We have adopted that three language formula. So English, Hindi, or Marathi, or let's say if I am concerned, you may go ahead with Urdu as well, right? So, what is your take on integrity? What is integrity is all about? Little bit surprised to see that there is no response. Nobody wish to talk on this issue. Anyway, doesn't matter. It is basically the quality of being honest. It is basically the quality of being honest and having strong moral principle that you do not wish to, rather you refuse to change. I hope it is clear to you. And when we put academic in front of it, meaning thereby whatever academic activity we are carrying out, how much honest we are with regard to that. That is what is integrity is all about, right? So that one component, and typically it goes with the character and so on, right? So we'll explore all those issues in greater detail, okay, in the slides to come, right? And the another important aspect we'll be dealing with is the research and publication ethics, right? What are publication ethics? Okay, what are the compromises normally we make whenever we carry out any research activity and so on, right? So these two things are there. But before moving ahead with all those aspects, let me tell you this is what is there on the agenda as far as this session is concerned. So we'll just try to understand what is the changing role of a teacher. As I said, that is earlier when I joined way back in 1990, only teaching was expected. Okay, nothing, no activity apart from teaching, right? If you engage your class theory and practical, that was more than enough, right? But what has happened? Over a period of time, the expectations have grown. Then another aspect, we'll just try to have a look at what is the overview of academic integrity, what is need of academic integrity, okay, why it is needed, and what are the compromises we make whenever we go ahead with this sort of thing, that is duplicate publication, authorship and order, scientific misconduct, okay, all these things we will just try to understand. And we will conclude our session with some hot issues in this particular area, what they call it as the conflict of interest. Okay, and probably we will end up with various organizations working in this domain. Okay, that is COPE, WAME, ICMJE, and IEEE Code of Ethics. Right. Now, having said this, let me begin with the very first component of our discussion, that is the changing role of a teacher. So as I was referring to, that is earlier, uh, only teaching was expected from, you can say, the teachers. But what has happened over a period of time, teaching is one important component. Again, still there. I'm not saying that it has been completely removed. But apart from teaching, the expectations have grown in terms of research and development. So one important aspect which we will just try to dig in today's deliberation is what is R&D and what is expected from a teacher. Okay, what are the various regulating guidelines in that regard? But again, the things will not end over there. Okay, so as to become your institution, particularly as far as I know, with regard to your institution, you have been awarded a plus, right? You are an NAC A+ institution. Now you are eligible for going for autonomy and all, right? And I'm quite sure that under the dynamic leadership of your young principal, okay, Dr. Ajay Thakre, maybe next year onwards, you may witness that autonomy in your institution. So it is not autonomy is one important component, but that is again in terms of academic activity. But apart from that, so normally we feel that we go for publication, maybe in terms of some research article or maybe patent. And I'm again well aware about the growth of your institution in those dimensions. That is, I think your IEDC cell is again, because I happens to be there in your IEDC committee, right, as a member. So I very well know that you are marching ahead in those aspects. But again, getting patent granted is not enough. Okay, publication earlier it was there, but now the grant again you are having in huge number. But how you transform those patents into product? Okay, so you may generate some money. So that is one component. Again, consultancy, particularly those who are from civil engineering, you may be having your some consultancy sort of activity in your institution. So the idea behind having all this IRG, that is internal revenue generation, for institutional sustainability, right? So how you can make your institution economically and you can say financially sustainable. Okay, those things are again being expected from teachers. So the dimensions are varying. Earlier it was only one, now it has been now you have four different components of it, right? R&D is one of them. So we'll just try to explore what R&D is all about, consultancy, IRG, will not talk about, but this is again not at all new. I very well remember when I was in government polytechnic, those days we used to run some courses for 10 pass student, 12 pass student under IRG. Okay, wherein we used to generate huge money. I still remember that is to the tune of 10 to 15 lakh per academic year, right? So, which is a huge number in 1995. But it is not at all new. So, whenever some funding agency pumps some sort of money, they give you money along with n number of conditions. So, normally we have that asterisks all the time, right? So, condition apply. That is again there, right? So having said this, so the expectations are not merely teaching, but R&D is again there. So we'll just try to explore that R&D in greater detail. But before moving ahead with the research and development and all, okay, we need to understand that is why do we write? Okay, so many times these are again some important points which I have jotted down. Okay, many times what are the reason that is wherein we are supposed to write? Okay, as an academician, maybe when you are undergoing a course or maybe if you are appearing in an examination and so on. So many times we write for some obvious reason. Many times we write for conveying the information, expressing our thoughts. Okay, let's say if your coordinator assigns you some assignment for this particular course, you have to submit the assignment so as to get the you can say the certificate and all. Then many times we write for getting our work published. Now, what are the reasons for getting your work published? Is to simply gain popularity in your domain. Many times we have to write for fetching some grants for some funding agencies like say UGC, AICT and so on. Okay, becoming famous is the obvious reason which I have already told you. But many times we write for organizing our thoughts. There are people who write to maintain historical record. There are people who are fond of writing daily diaries. Okay, so for some or the other reason we have to write. But you will be surprised, that is, if you look at the entire curricula of any engineering college, okay, we have never ever been taught that is how to write, and that is the reason we commit mistake whenever it comes to you can say writing, technical writing or maybe scientific writing. Okay, so there are reasons to that, right? Because we do not have any specific subject, and unless and until we have some compulsions, okay, then we do not know how to write, right? So obviously these are the reasons, that is why we commit mistakes, right? Now, as I said, that is we need to understand why this academic integrity is so important. Integrity, I think I have already talked about. Okay, we will definitely define what academic integrity is, what are the take of various funding, you can say the regulating agency on this particular aspect. But before that, we need to understand what is the need of this particular thing, what is the need of academic integrity. So I have, you can say, compiled some 4 or 5 popular cases, okay, at international level, and again we'll have some national level again, okay. And if you can see the slide, you will find that the source is again specified over there. That is, it is powerorange.com. Okay, so 5 famous plagiarism cases in history. Okay, look at the very first one, a speech made by Melania Trump versus Michelle Obama. Okay, wherein she has been accused of, Melania Trump has been accused of plagiarism for a speech she made at the Republican National Convention in 2016. I think this was again very much there in the media and so on. Now, again, see, we are not here to see whether they were really involved. Okay, and we do not want to indulge into those controversies and so on. Our idea is to simply understand why it is important. Right now, the second important case, again, you will be surprised to see, wherein Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling and versus Adrian Jacob, where Adrian Jacob claims that she stole many of her ideas for Harry Potter. Okay, the Lord of Rings series by J.R.R. Tolkien versus Richard Wagner. Okay, wherein Rowling is the only author of a successful and popular book series to have been accused of plagiarism. Right. So these are the 3 cases. There are 2 more. The game of Pong created by Atari versus Magnavox. Okay, during 1970s. Okay, wherein the Atari had been accused of plagiarism by Magnavox. Right, and Da Vinci Code written by Dan Brown. Okay, this is again very popular internationally. Okay, wherein the author of the Da Vinci Code has been accused of plagiarism on two different occasions. So this has happened at international level, and at national level again the things are not very different. Okay, it is on the similar line. Okay, these are some of the, you can say, the five plagiarism cases. Okay, again I have taken the source. You can see that this is the way in which you can very well come out. Whenever you cite something, if you specify the source, okay, there is no problem as such, right? So if you look at this particular compilation, it is the source leaks. Okay, copyleaks.com. Okay, that is the website from where you will get. So now these are five famous plagiarism cases in our country. Okay, wherein the very first one is the you can say the Indian Foundation website, wherein big names like, again, okay, I am repeatedly telling you that is, we do not want to get indulged into all these controversies. Okay, because whether they were really accused and what has happened later on, okay, we do not want to indulge into. We are just trying to understand why this is important, right? So wherein MJ Akbar, maybe Nirmala Sitaram, Swapna Das Gupta and others, they were accused. Chemistry professor accused of plagiarizing more than 70 articles. Kavya Vishwanathan was accused of plagiarism for her novel. Stanford University wrote to APJ Abdul Kalam for Professor Rajput's plagiarism, right? It never ends over there, right? Then plagiarism accusation against Dr. Gurunathan and his group. So what has happened, that is during 2007 to 11, we have reported at national level highest plagiarism rating. And that led to the regulating agencies like UGC and AICTU to take up this issue very seriously. And then that's why they have come up with certain guidelines in this regard. We will be having a look at all those aspects, okay, in the slides to come. But this is why this topic is so much important, right? Then there are a few more things one has to understand. Okay, that is, if you just try to recall, okay, I said that we'll be touching upon two important aspects. One is the academic integrity, and the second one is the research and publication ethics. Okay, so we'll just try to understand what ethics are all about. Okay, so what are ethics, and how to deal with ethics, and so on. Okay, so as to understand this, again, this ethical dilemma is very crucial. Okay, we face in our day-to-day life. Okay, so let's assume that uh, we will just try to understand this with the sake of this pretty simple example. Let us assume that you are on a morning or a evening walk, okay, and you found some money lying on the street. Now there are four options I'll be providing to you. Okay, what you will do with that money? Whether you will leave it as it is, or you will pick it up and spend it, or you will pick it up and give it to charity, or you will do something else. So let us name them as A, B, C, D. Now here I don't know how many of you are with me at this point of time, but I would love to hear your reaction. That is, whether you will go ahead with A, B, C, and D. Okay, and your justification, right? I am not saying that any of these options are right or wrong. Okay, so we will just try to understand what ethics are all about. So what is your opinion? Yeah, any one of you. Hello, again no response. Hello, are you with me first of all? Yes,
We are
yes, sir. Please, sir. Please go ahead. Please go ahead, sir. You are not audible. Hello, hello, hello. There are around 34 participants. I don't know whether you are facing any problem for unmuting yourself.
maybe C, sir.
Hello, maybe C. Okay, may I know who is speaking?
So Saurabh Shah.
Saurabh, great. Okay. Any justification for that? Why you will go with pick it up and give it to charity?
Uh, किसी के काम नहीं आ रहा है तो एटलीस्ट मे बी फॉर इट विल बी यूजफुल फॉर बेटर पर्पसेस.
Okay, okay,
No
okay,
one is claiming for that.
okay. Any other answer? Yes, most of the time we will pick it up and give it to charity is the most appropriate answer. Okay, but again there are a few possibilities. Again, I was expecting that somebody will ask, sir, what is the amount of that money? Okay, because your answer may vary depending upon the amount, or it will remain constant. What is it, Saurabh? Let's
Maybe
say,
actually, if no one is claiming, then it's okay.
acha, no one is claiming, then it's okay. Okay,
हाँ.
um, okay. Uh, but let's say if the amount of money is 20 rupees note or a 200 rupees note, or let's say if it is a bag full of 1 crore, you will still go ahead with C or your answer will change.
It may be different then.
So let's say if it is 200 rupees, then you will go ahead with C. And let's say if it is 1 CR, what you will do?
We'll ask for maybe use some social media that I found this. Whoever
Okay,
is claiming that, or maybe will report to at police station.
great, great. So you will go ahead with that something else option if I am not wrong. That is what I have understood, right? But something else, again, the possibilities are many. That is, you may try to find out some nearby police station. Okay, you may deposit that amount with the police. Okay, so that they will take care of it and they will give it to the real owner and something like that. So again, you
Yes.
have something else that is for all those activities. Even you said you will put it on some social media and you will just try to find out who is the real owner of that money, and you will hand it over to him or her, right? So what I'm trying to say is, but nobody has said that pick it up and spend it, or even leave it as it is again, there is no problem. Or now I will make the things little bit more complex. Okay, let us assume that you are hungry since last 7 or 8 days. ऐसा अल्लाह ताला किसी के साथ हो ना, ठीक है, लेकिन unfortunately it has happened. Okay, you are the person involved. Let's say I am the person involved and I am hungry since last 7 or 8 days. Okay, now you found that 200 rupees money, 200 rupees note lying on the street. What you will do? The idea behind putting this question is again to get you involved. There is no other reason. I could see there are a lot of known faces. Praveen Chaudhary sir is again there. Okay, Atif Sayyed is there. Then okay. So Saurabh, what you will do? Now, if it is only 200 rupees, okay, you are hungry since last 8 days. Okay. Now, what will come to your mind?
So in my case, answer will be still same.
No, no, no. See, you are hungry, sir, since last 7 8 days. Okay. So, what you will do? Some of you may come up with a answer which is again valid and correct in a sense. That is, nothing will come to your mind. You will pick up that money and just try to locate the nearby restaurant. And depending upon the time, let's say if it is evening, or night, you will have your lunch, or let's say if it is early morning, you will have your breakfast. And let's say even if the real owner of that money visit that place and somebody inform him that that fellow has picked up that 200 rupees note, and look, he is sitting there and having his breakfast over there. And then you approach to that fellow and he will say, okay, sir, this is why I have taken up. I know that the money is not mine. Okay, but I picked it up and I'm having my breakfast. The reason is because I was hungry. So
Hungry.
even if you are the owner, you will say no problem, you have it, right?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to emphasize here is your ethical behavior is not dependent on one particular parameter. It depends on various parameters. Now, what are those parameters? Just try to. Yes, somebody want to speak something? Okay, somebody has unmuted. That's why I'm asking. Anyway, so your ethical behavior. This is what they call it as the ethical dilemma. right? Wherein we all of us, we know that since the money is not ours, okay, there's no fun in picking it up and spending it. Nobody will say, "Okay, I will pick it up and spend it." But if the circumstances are like this, whatever I have narrated to you just now, in that case, it may happen. It may happen. I'm not saying that it will happen all the time, but it may happen. So, how your ethical behavior is determined, right? It is basically based on many factors. Now, what are those factors? The individual involved, how you have groomed up, what kind of value system you have from your family or your fathers or forefathers and so on. Second is the circumstances. As I was referring to, let's say you are hungry since 7 or 8 days, then in that case it may happen that your ethical behavior will change. Okay, since you were hungry, okay, even if you are well aware that the money is not yours, okay, you will pick it up and spend it. And again, ethically nobody will object on that. Third is the moral intensity with the situation. Now I'm just trying to define ethics in terms of morals, right? So moral intensity with the situation, whether it means that ethics and morals are same. Anybody would like to comment on that? I hope you are with me. So what do you feel? Whether ethics and morals are same? Hello? Ethics and morals are same or they are different? Anyone would like to comment on that? All right. So as a matter of fact, they are different. Okay, ethics is something which is what they call it as it is a formal set of rules, okay, and principles. It is a formal set of rules and principles, and they are typically learned through deliberations and consensus. This is how you can say, if you look at any of the government resolution, whenever government would like to make certain changes into any act or any direction, okay, they normally try to get involved everybody, rather all the stakeholders of that particular domain. Okay, and that's why whenever they go for any sort of modification or they want to come up with certain regulation, okay, they invite proposals from public. Okay, and that's why I'm saying that the ethics, they are learned through deliberation and consensus, or what they call it as the knowing philosophy. Okay, and it is, as a matter of fact, it is a broader concept. Okay, it is a broader concept. It is not it is not confined to any individual. Okay, so you may call it as a customized morality. Okay, the another name you can give to ethics is nothing but the customized morality, and it is not for individual, it is for the system. Okay, so it is not for an individual. Whereas if you look at morals, okay, morals are one's own subjective right or wrong. So you may think, as I said, that's why I was expecting that in the case study, whatever I have given to you, you may come up with some answers. Somebody will say A, somebody will say B, somebody will say C, and some of you may come up with D. Okay, so because your own subjective right or wrong, okay, how you are groomed up, and so on. It is for individual. It is not for the system or for the society. Okay, and in case of moral, the sentiments are involved. Okay, whereas in case of ethics, there no sentiments are involved. It is rules are rule. Okay, or the ethics, whatever government directives are there, they are same. Okay, they are same for an ordinary citizen. As I said, if you look at the plagiarism cases at international level, wherein the first lady Michelle Obama was involved, right? So she has been accused. So whether an ordinary citizen, US citizen, is committing some mistake, or whether the person involved is the president of a country or the first lady like Michelle Obama, the rules will remain same, right? So sentiments are involved. It is a personal compass, right? It is not for the masses. Okay, so this is how you can say that the ethics and morals are different. So there is a thin demarcation line between these. Okay, so Now, if you just try to dig this ethical dilemma in a greater detail, you will find that there are two theories. Okay, two theories based on which it has been derived. Okay, what are those theories? We'll just try to have a look at. Okay, the first theory is what they call it as the theory of absolutism, and the second theory is what they call it as the theory of relativism. Okay, now if you look at the left hand side, wherein you have absolutism theory, wherein you have one set of moral rules, rules common to all. Okay, whether you are a king or you are an ordinary citizen, you will be governed by those rules, right? Rules unlikely to change. Okay, see, if something has been written 1400 years back, it is still valid. Okay, and let's say if you follow the theory of absolutism, you are a person of a sort, what they call it as a dogmatic. Okay, and you have a firm belief that the absolute truth exists. Okay, on the other hand, now if you look at the functioning of any democratic setup like ours, okay, we believe in, or let's say those who are from scientific or technical background, we are all we all follow relativism theory. That is, we have wherein we have many acceptable set of rules. Rules can change over time. Somebody has proved some X at this point of time. It may happen 2 years down the line. Somebody else will, some other fellow will come up and he will just try to prove it. Whatever Professor Atik has said, it is absolutely rubbish. Now this is what I am saying, and he will prove it. He or she will prove it. So if you follow a theory of relativism, you may be called as a pragmatic person. Pragmatic is nothing but practical. Okay, we are all scientific or technical background people, right? So we find some practical solution to this. So there is no absolute truth. So if you believe in relativism theory, there is no absolute truth, right? There is no absolute truth, as a matter of fact. Okay, now I would like to once again pose one important question. What do you feel? Whether you would like to call yourself as a dogmatic person or a pragmatic person? What is your take on this? 99% of you, almost all of you, will come up that we are all pragmatic. Okay, wherein we believe in some rules can change over time, and that's why UGC and AICT, they have notification, and those notifications are repealed over a period of time. Okay, whatever has been valid in 2018 or 19, now it is completely rubbish. It is into a dustbin. Okay, because UGC has come up with 2025 or regulation in that regard, right? So we are all pragmatic, but in certain areas we are all dogmatic. See, dogmatism is something wherein you feel that you are right and the other fellow is always wrong. So there is no fun in arguing with a dogmatic person, right? So but in some cases we are all dogmatic. Can you identify the area wherein we are all dogmatic? There we do not want to accept, right? Even a comma and full stop is not permissible, right? Yes. Any one of you would like to comment on that? Wherein, just identify the area wherein we are all dogmatic. But for the rest of the things, definitely we are all pragmatic. Yes. Any one of you? When it comes to your religious belief, okay. When it comes to your religious belief, we are all dogmatic because we have a complete faith that absolute truth exists, right? So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that is there are now, if you just try to extend this theory to the ethics and all, okay, you can very well understand that is how our ethical behavior is all about, right? In general, I'm talking about all human being as a whole, right? So our ethical behavior or ethical dilemma, that is, we deal with those kind of a thing, okay, in a pragmatic manner. Okay, in a pragmatic manner, right? Now, having said this, let us try to understand, why do ethical issues arise in publication? Now, there are again obvious reasons to it. I'll not elaborate on those aspects. How it has happened? Okay, earlier there were no compulsion in terms of publication. Okay, but all of a sudden UGC or AICT has mandated. Let's say if you want to become a professor or senior professor or associate professor. Okay, merely your educational qualification is not enough or experience is not enough. You have to have two PhD successfully guided with okay 8 to 10 research publication in SCI index or Scopus index journals and so on. Right. So it is, since it has been linked with our bread and butter. Okay. So that is why I'm saying it enhance seniority and promotion. Right. Publisher's profit. Now, if you look at from, you can say the publisher's perspective, okay, that's why there are journals coming in and moving out, okay, because if you look at Q1, Q2, Q3, why it has been Q4, okay, so you will find that that journal is there in the Scopus list, okay, as on date today, and maybe 1 month down the line, okay, you will find that it has been removed because they have published around maybe 10,000 odd article in a single issue. Okay, it happens. Okay, that is what the care list is all about. Now, that is the reason why UGC has come up that rather they have scrapped that care list. Okay. Now again, I came to know yesterday we were having some discussion, okay, informal discussion, wherein somebody was saying, now again they have put it on hold for a certain period of time because there are all the time problems, right? So since it has been linked with your seniority and promotion, since there is some money involved, publishers' profit, companies' profit, so that is the only reason why ethical issues arise in publication, right? Now let us come to our having said this is you can say the background which I have tried to create as far as this topic is concerned. Let us see what UGC says about academic integrity. Now, this is whatever I'll be talking here onwards. It is basically with regard to notification which has been published by UGC way back in 2018, 23rd July 2018. They have come up with a fantastic document in this regard wherein they have categorically defined everything. What is academic integrity? What are ethics? Okay, what is plagiarism? What is self-plagiarism? What is considered under plagiarism, and what will not be considered under plagiarism, and so on. So they have come up with a white paper, I should say, in this regard. Okay, wherein they have defined academic integrity is the intellectual honesty. I was referring to integrity, meaning thereby the honesty. In what? In proposing, performing, and reporting. It is not merely with regard to reporting when you go for publication, meaning thereby you are reporting your work. Okay, so it is not only with regard to reporting, it is with regard to proposing, performing, and reporting. Okay, any activity which leads to the creation of intellectual property. Now, again, it is not merely the research article. Okay, it is with regard to any intellectual property. Now, under this is an umbrella term wherein you have research articles are no doubt they are there, but apart from research article, you have patent, design patent, copyright, okay, and some geographical indication and whatnot, right? So anything which comes under intellectual property that will be governed by these regulations, right? So having said this, let us try to understand why do we compromise this integrity. Okay, again, obviously there are some of the things which I have already told you, that is, since it has been linked with your promotion, selection, and appointments, so you have to have a minimum API score of 120 or 80, okay, in the assessment period, and that is the reason which led to this kind of thing. Okay, then again you have compulsion from the your institution wherever you are working. They ask you to carry out your academic activity on the day-to-day basis. Then again go ahead with all these publications. In our university itself, the honorable vice chancellor, he has come up with a direction wherein every faculty member, it is expected that they must write minimum 3 quality publication in an academic year. So teaching is there. So this way, on the similar line, probably all the institution, you may be having your own, maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 5. Okay, that may vary, but these compulsions are there. So either publish or perish, becoming famous. One important aspect, which is again one has to understand, is it is linked in some countries like China. It has been linked with monetary rewards. Okay, wherein the government will give you some seed money for getting your work published and so on. Okay, so these are the reasons why do we compromise. Now, what is there whenever we talk about the publication ethics or academic integrity? Okay, there are various categories. The very first category, first and the foremost one is the duplicate publication. That is republishing the same finding again and again. So as I was referring to that, we are having very many compulsion, okay, in terms of, you can say, the academic assignment and the NAC work, whatever portfolio has been assigned to you. And so you are short of ideas. So what do we do normally? We have one single idea, we go for maybe multiple publication on the same idea, okay, because you do not have time, ample time. See, any research activity, it requires lot of time and energy, let's say, but you have limited period, you do not have more than 24 hours in a day, right? So how you will stretch yourself, right? So republishing the same finding or submitting the same manuscript to two or more journals at once, so it happens many times. That is, and that's why they ask you mandatorily, okay, whenever you go for submission, they will ask you whether the same manuscript has been under consideration, or whether it is under consideration on any other journal or conference. Say yes or no. Okay, but many times what do? We go for, because we are not sure that whether it will be published or not, and that's why we give a try to more than one. Okay, but that is, as a matter of fact, that is considered as duplicate publication, which is ethically not correct. Now, dividing one research paper into many little papers, what they call it as the salami slicing. What is it exactly? Okay, since as I said, that is, you have one single idea. Okay, so you may go ahead with a paper in terms of, let's say you want to increase the number. Okay, you have to achieve that 3 publication per year criteria. So you will go ahead with one simple publication wherein you will carry out some literature survey and you will report your findings. Okay. Second paper, you may go ahead with the solution. Okay. And third paper, wherein you will report the results. Okay. But if you put all these 3 papers and you read them in a single go, you will find that the idea remains same. So that is again considered as duplicate publication. Again, it is ethically not correct to do so, right? Then the another important aspect is the authorship. What is it? Who is the author? Again, one has to, the UGC is very clear about that. Okay, so author includes, this is again the extract from that guideline only, or the another source. If you can see the slide, is the icmg.org. We will come to that ICMG later on in our discussion, but it includes a student, not necessarily now what who can be an author, student or a faculty or a researcher or even staff, even your supporting staff. You may call, or rather you may put his or her name as a author. But what is the criteria? Who claims to be the creator of the work under consideration? Now, creator of work under consideration, meaning thereby you have to have what they call it as some substantial contributions. Why I'm referring to substantial contribution. Now, who can claim to be an author? Substantial contribution to the conception and design of a paper, or acquisition of data, or analysis and interpretation of data. But let's say the other way around, if you are not contributing in terms of any of these things, but still you claim yourself to be an author, that is highly dangerous, right? Just because of the position you are enjoying, okay, it is not ethically correct. Now, drafting article or revising it critically, again, this is the area once again wherein somebody can contribute. Let's say somebody is good in drafting, he or she is contributing in that terms, okay, or revising it critically. Okay, when you submit it, may come up for revision. Okay, wherein let's say if you are contributing, again, you can claim to be an author. Okay, it critically or for important intellectual content, even though that fellow is not actually working, carrying out the research work on the field, but he is contributing in terms of some intellectual content. Again, he or she can claim to be an author. And final approval of the version to be published, right? So these things are there, which makes you entitled for becoming an author of a particular research article or a research, maybe an intellectual property, I can say. Right. Now let us try to move ahead with the other dimension of, you can say, this ethical consideration of public, sorry, the another category which is broadly there is what they call it as the scientific misconduct. Now, what is it? Again, there are 2 categories. One is the fabrication, second is the falsification, wherein Many times I used to say that is it is making up data or cooking up data. What do? We try to manipulate the result in the appropriate direction and report them. So manipulation in terms of result, that comes under fabrication. And what is falsification? Manipulating research material equipment. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm manipulating or calibrating my equipment so as to get the desired result. That comes under falsification. Okay, because with the intent to change the outcome. Okay, what is the intent? The intent is not ethically correct. The intent is to get results, calibrate those equipment in such a way that so you get the desired result. Okay, that is again, that comes under scientific misconduct. Third category is which is very popular and very common and which is known to almost all of us, is what they call it as the plagiarism. Right? What is it? It is when somebody presents works of another person or processes or results or words as if they were his or like her own without acknowledgement. Let's say if you acknowledge, okay, let's say if you are taking an idea from some paper, okay, when some way or the other, but you are not hiding the sources and so on. Now based on this definition, okay, we have got four distinct categories of plagiarism. What are they? Okay, now if you look at this definition itself, you can derive that those four types quite easily. The very first one is the ideas. Okay, plagiarism of idea occurs when one fails to acknowledge the origin of the source, right? Meaning thereby you are actually referring to it, but when it comes to your reference section, you are hiding those sources. Okay, sources. Plagiarism of sources occurs when one does not attribute the correct source of information. Meaning thereby I am referring to ABC paper, and when it comes to acknowledging it in the reference section, I am referring to some XYZ paper. Okay, sources I am hiding. Authorship. Okay, plagiarism of authorship occurs when one claims authorship on an entire article without actually fulfilling the criteria for authorship. And what is the criteria of authorship? That I have already told you, that is substantial contribution. Okay, and the other two more things are there. Okay, but if you are not substantially contributing and still you are claiming yourself to be an author just because of the position you enjoy in an organization, or whatever, right? Or whatever, right? So that is again considered as plagiarism. Fourth one, which is very common, is verbatim or word for word. Like that is copy and paste, control C, control V. Right. So these are the four distinct categories of plagiarism. I know I'm going a little fast because most of the things are, but this is an integral part of NEP 2020, right? So we have to take one session on R&D. All right. Self-plagiarism. Again, this is little bit debatable. Many people feel that it should be allowed. Some of the you can say the intellectuals feel that it should not be considered as a plagiarism. I have my own opinion, but as far as UGC is concerned, okay, now I'm referring to UGC notice dated 20th April 2020, okay, which is there on the bottom. As you can see, a number I have missed over there, but you can Google it and you can very well find it. Okay, wherein they have categorically defined what self-plagiarism is all about. So it is a type of plagiarism which the writer republishes a works in its entirety or reuses portion of previously written text while authoring a new work. Now this is highly dangerous, and most of the time all of us we get stuck up in this kind of activity. Why it is so? Let's say you are going for, most of the time your supervisor says, okay, you go for the publication first and then go for the thesis writing. Okay, so it is definitely when you go for your thesis writing, nothing new will come up, right? It will be a reflection of what you have already published, which is there in the public domain. So there is every possibility that you will get this self plagiarism kind of thing. How to avoid it? That will address it. It is very easy. What you need to do is you need to put your own papers in the reference section. That is the only way in which you can avoid it. So, but self-plagiarism, it will be considered. Let's say if you hide your sources, okay, you do not put your own paper in the reference section, it will be considered as plagiarism. Even though it is self-plagiarism, but it will be considered as plagiarism. So, republishing the same paper already published elsewhere without due and full citation, that is one category. Publishing smaller excerpted from a larger, long and previous. So, short paper, long paper, and full length paper. These are the terminologies which are typically used in this case, right? Reusing data already used in published work or communicated for publication. So that is again considered as self-plagiarism, which is again considered as plagiarism as far as UGC is concerned. Okay, their take on this is very clear. Okay, they consider it as plagiarism, right? Whether it is self or not. Breaking up a longer, larger study, that is Islamic slicing, which I have already told you. Paraphrasing one's own previously published work without due and full citation. So again, there are now this is a tech era wherein you have a lot of tools for paraphrasing, right? So you may use them. Okay, so that is again considered as plagiarism. Okay, two more categories is there. One is unintentional, and this next one is the intentional plagiarism. Unintentional paraphrasing poorly. That is, let's say if you I want to paraphrase, but if you are doing it in a poorly manner, okay, quoting poorly meaning thereby actually you can copy and paste. There is no problem. Okay, let's say you want to copy maybe one complete page and paste it in your article. There's no problem. The only thing you need to do is you will need to put it in double quotation marks and acknowledge it in the citation section. Okay, if you do so, there is no plagiarism as such. So quoting poorly, that is, you are not putting the quotation marks at the appropriate location. Okay. Okay. 1 to 3 line you are quoting as double quotes, and rest of the things you are leaving it as it is. That is considered as unintentional practice. Citing poorly, omitting an occasional citation. So that is again unintentional. Now, what is intentional? Let us try to have a look at. Intentional is little bit dangerous, wherein passing off one's own pre-written papers from a internet source. Copying an essay, copy and paste. This is highly dangerous. Or copying 2, 3 papers to create a new paper. Okay, cutting and pasting from more than one sources to create a new paper. Okay, that is intentional, which is highly dangerous. Right. Now, having said this, what is excluded from plagiarism? Okay, and that's why whenever you go for a plaque check, normally your librarian or the person involved, again, it is from 23rd July 2018, same notification I am referring to. So all quoted works, as I said, double quotation marks, that will be excluded. All references, that's why they ask you to remove all the references, bibliography, table of content, preface, some cover pages, wherein you write title, acknowledgement, or dedication, so on. All generic terms. Now this is important to note. All generic terms, standard terms, laws, standard symbols, and standard equation, right? That is not considered as plagiarized because that is in the public domain. Common language or coincidental terms, that is up to 14 consecutive words. There is a limit. More than 14, it will be considered as plagiarism. Common language means well-established fact, code, figure, or information, right? So this is what is excluded from plagiarism. Now, what are the penalties? I'll just refer to that 23rd July 18 because we will be having another session on ICT and so on, right? So there are, this is highly dangerous, but we should be aware, okay, if it is, the similarity index is up to 10% minor penalties, it is acceptable. Up to 10 meaning thereby 10 is allowed. Okay, 10 to 40, anything between about 10, that is 11 to 40 more specifically, such student, this is from the student's perspective. Again, the source is 23rd July 2018. So such students shall be asked to submit a revised script within a stipulated time period not exceeding 6 months. 6 month time is normally given to the student. This is from a student perspective. 40 to 60, such student shall be denied, okay, from submitting a revised script for a period of 1 year. 1 year he will be put on hold. Okay, then after 1 year he or she may submit. 60% and above, such student registration for that particular program shall be cancelled. Okay, which is highly dangerous. Okay, this is from a student perspective. And as far as teachers are concerned or supervisors are concerned, again the penalties are very harsh, I tell you. Right, 10% no penalty. Okay, 10 to 40 shall be asked to withdraw the script. Okay, this is 40 is again, the penalty is little bit, they have taken into account all the aspects of a teacher and that's why they've kept it. But 40 to 60 shall be asked to withdraw the script, shall be denied right to one annual increment, shall not be allowed to be a supervisor. Okay, and it is mandatory on the part of all the university to follow it. These are again bare minimum, right? These are all minimum. The universities, they may go beyond this. Okay, but it is mandatory for all the universities to follow it as it is. Level 3, which is above 60%, look at the penalties. Shall be asked to withdraw the script, shall be denied right to 2 annual increments, shall not be allowed to be a supervisor for a period of 3 years. Now, why you are doing all these research and so on, so as to get promoted, and let's say if something goes wrong, okay, you will land up in this sort of scenarios, which is highly dangerous, right? So it will affect you financially as well. Okay, so we need to take utmost care while dealing with all these aspects, right? Again, this source is 23rd July 2018. Now, I have told you that we will end up our discussion with a hot topic in this particular domain, what they call it as the conflict of interest, right? I'll not talk much on this, but we need to take up this thing a little bit seriously. Those who are from scientific or engineering background, right? So this issue is very serious issue, wherein, let's say, if you are misusing your position, okay, it exists when there is a divergence between individuals' private interest. So as an individual, I may be having my some private interest, what they call it as the competing interest, and his or her responsibility to scientific and publishing activities, okay, such that a reasonable observer might wonder if the individual behaviors or judgment was made by consideration of his or her competing interest. Okay, so I'll put it in simple words. Let's say I'm working as a professor and head in my computer science department, Sant Gadge Baba Amravati University. At the same time, let's say some few of my students, those who are working under me for towards their PhD, now that fellow is working as a managing editor of a particular elite journal, of the Springer or maybe elsewhere. Okay, what I'm doing, I'm using my relationship, the student-teacher relationship, to get my paper published in that journal. Okay. Now, this is highly dangerous and this is not at all acceptable. Now, yesterday I was going through, I'm not sure whether the stuff is really, it may lead to retraction of your paper. Whatever, whichever has been already published, okay, if somebody launch a complaint, now how to do that, that again we will have a look at, wherein we will deal with some organizations which are working in this domain. So you may approach them, and let's say that journal is the authorized signatory on that. Okay, that COPE or any other organization for that purpose to whomsoever you approach, okay, they may take some appropriate action. They may ask the author to retract the paper or write an apology, okay, which will be published on the cover page of the journal and whatnot, right? So it is conflict of interest is something when you are misusing your position, okay, whatever you can say the statutory position you are enjoying for getting benefited. Okay, so it exists when a participant in the publication process. What I'm trying to emphasize here is I'm using my now that is not merely the student-teacher relationship. There are a few more dimensions to it. We will have a look at all those things again. Okay, maybe your political interest. Okay, again, or maybe religious affiliation and whatnot. So that conflict of interest is not merely in terms of the student teacher relationship. So you need to disclose all those things in the beginning. So whenever you go for a publication, normally the standard publisher, they ask you along with the copyright form, they ask you to disclose a COI form, wherein they will ask you a set of questions with regard to your affiliation, wherein this is typically there in wherein some cutting edge or technology research are involved, okay, wherein you are doing something of the form which may come up in the form of a product, or definitely the money will be involved and whatnot, particularly medical research or maybe the pharmaceutical research, okay, wherein the crores of rupees or $1 billion of kind of money is involved in those cases. So you need to disclose it in the beginning. Let's say if you do not disclose it, what are the consequences? Again, that is very much there. That is very much there. Okay, so we will just try to have a look at this. So normally they give you a statement which is very similar to a copyright form, wherein they have every right to ask you. So a clear statement of example of the types of competing interest along with their definition must be declared. Now, what is there in that COI form should include the following examples, but there could be more. Okay, it all depends upon the journal, right? So they may ask you whether you are having some financial ties with them, okay, or some academic commitments, or some personal relationship, as I was referring to, that is the student-teacher relationship, or maybe political or religious belief. Let's say you have a firm belief in some XYZ political party or some religious belief, you are exploiting that. Okay, that is again one has to disclose. Even the institutional affiliation, right? That is again very much needed, right? So having said this, these topics are becoming, you can say, the hotcake nowadays in terms of research and so on. Okay, now how do we declare this? Declaring the conflict of interest. Now, what is to be declared and to whom? Okay, format for declaration. This is typically given by the publisher. Okay, a journal's role in asking additional question or seeking clarification. Okay, about disclosures, consequences for failing to disclose before or after publication. Now, there are two possibilities. Either you can disclose it before, or you may disclose it after publication. So definitely, when you disclose it before, okay, you will be saved. But let's say if you are not disclosing it, you are hiding it, and later on, let's say if it comes into limelight, somebody launch a complaint, okay, and then you just try to disclose it, okay, well, I was having so and so relationship, okay, then in that case the penalties are really harsh, right? So one has to be very serious while dealing with all these. Otherwise, as I said, that is when you are going for promotion, for publication, just for getting promoted, so it may lead to some you can say withholding your increment, one or two, okay, depending upon the gravity of the plagiarism and so on. So that is why I'm saying. So how to manage it? Again, different organizations. Say, for example, I have taken this from a wame.org. So a clear statement on how CEO conflict of interest should be managed. Okay, that is again needed. Okay, that is there by different organizations. They have their own ways and means to handle this. Okay, but this is one of the, you can say, the burning topic. Okay, whenever you go for a cutting edge kind of research, okay, wherein a lot of money is involved, right? Now, having said this, we will just try to conclude our session with what they call it as the various committees, various organizations which are working in this domain. Okay, so the very first one is the COPE, which is what they call it as the Committee on Publication Ethics. Okay, Committee on Publication Ethics. So if you look at the historical perspective, it was established in 1997. It is one of the oldest organization working in this domain. In UK, started with only 3 members, but what has happened over a period of time, it has grown like anything. 97 to 2003, 90 members, 6 to 9, 3,000 plus member. Now more than 12,500 plus members, and from 103 countries. What is their tagline? Promoting integrity in research, scholarly research, and its publication. Now they have 18 flowcharts for handling various issues. Whatever issues I have referred to, let's say if you have some COI interest, okay, conflict of interest issue, you may approach them. Okay, and let's say the paper or the journal you are referring to, it is an authorized signatory on that. Okay, these people can take action on those journals. So what is the URL? Publicationethics.org. Again, there are a lot of stuff available on this scope code of conduct. Okay, I'll not elaborate on that. You may go to their website, download various PDF or the other stuff which is available. But these are the areas in which they deal with. That is, strive to meet the needs of readers and authors, constantly improve the journal quality, ensure the quality of the material and publish, champion freedom of expression. Now, again, this issue is nowadays is a burning issue, right? Right, freedom of expression. What you can say, what you can write, or what you cannot, right? So all these things are making a lot of differences, right? Then core practices of COPE: allegation of misconduct, okay, authorship and contributorship, complaints and appeals, conflict of interest, competing interest, journal management, post-publication discussion and correction. Many times we feel that we have published the article, that is the end of the story. But when you go for quality publication, my dear colleague, I would like to inform you that that is not the end of the story, rather it is the beginning. It may happen based on your article, okay, somebody will come up with some sort of discussion wherein he or she will argue that is, well, this is what you claim, whereas this is not like this is something like this. Okay, and let's say if he is correct, then you need to accept it in writing. So you may have to come up with certain corrections. Okay, this is, I'm referring to when you go for quality publication, right? So it may happen. I'm not saying it will happen all the time, but this possibility is there. Okay, So again, you need to retract many times. Let's say if the idea itself is the somebody else is claiming that the idea was mine, right? So in that case, again, you need to retract your paper. So retraction now, UGC and even NAC and NBA, okay, they are. I'm not sure up to how extent this is correct, but yesterday's on some WhatsApp group, it was. Being circulated, wherein it may happen that if the papers are the poor quality papers are retracted, it may lead to some negative marking in terms of publication and so on. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not claiming anything. It was going on some WhatsApp group. It may happen. It is a fake story, but the things are that way. What I intend to say is retraction is there. Retraction is a standard process. You may have to retract your paper. Okay, if it is having some or the other problem. The another organization is the WAME, that is World Association of Medical Editors, established in 1995. It is again, these are all non-profit, global non-profit associations. Their objective is not to earn money. These are all voluntarily doing their job. Okay. Okay. So this is specifically for medical education and so on, wherein they have again wame.org is the URL. Okay. You may go ahead with all these types of stuff over there. That is publication ethics policies, relationship between journal editor in chief and owners. Look at the title itself, right? So on all these topics, you will find some legal documents are available on their website. Global health and politics, peer review. What is peer review? What is definition of peer review journal? Okay, peer review selection and contact to prevent peer review manipulation by authors. Okay, that is what I was referring to. Okay, other publication related issues like manipulating impact factor. I'm really sorry to some of the words you may find little bit manipulation, right? So manipulation, it is there. Even the impact factor is being manipulated. How, we will not debate on that, but there are ways and means. But that is again not correct. Okay, the registration of clinical trials. Let's say if you are going for a medical research, okay, in that case, it is mandatory for you to register for a clinical trials, barring few exceptions. That is whatever has happened in case of COVID-19. But though those were exceptional cases, but otherwise you cannot come up with something, okay, which may lead to some different scenarios, okay, after without going for clinical trials and so on. Okay, because those medicines are, as a matter of fact, they will be administered to human beings, okay, which may lead to some difficult scenarios, right? So these things are basically handled by this WAME. Okay, again, authors, who is the author, authorship, again, they have their own ways of dealing with all these things. Conflict of interest. WAME, again, they have own way of dealing with conflict of interest, peer-reviewed journals, medical journals, and so on, right? They have fantastic resources, I tell you. If you go to this ethics case discussion, you will be surprised. Okay, ethics consultations are again there. Okay, ethics web resources are again there. So you just, it's my humble request that you please just try to explore all these things. Even when a blog is there, when a listserv is there, and some newsletter is again being published by these things. Now the third organization is the ICMG, that is International Committee of Medical Editor Journals, right? Which has produced multiple edition of their document. Actually, what has happened, if you look at the historical perspective of this ICMG, that is how it has evolved. As a matter of fact, it is a committee of, or a organization of only 16 members, and they have come up with some uniform requirement as far as the publications are concerned, right? So it was established, it was started way back in 1970. What has happened, somebody wrote some paper and sent it to some journal. What has happened? It has come up with some rejection along with a lot of comments and so on. So those days there were no guidelines. That is what should be there in a paper. Okay, so this small group, earlier I think it was only 2 or 3 people. Then gradually it has increased to 16 members. So they have come up with certain guidelines. That is what should be there in a paper. That is abstract, introduction, whatever you see nowadays. Okay, these standards, this is a template, what we used to call it as. It is typically referred to as, and since their first meeting took place in Vancouver, it is also called as the Vancouver style or Vancouver group, right? So 1978 they conducted the meeting. 79 they have come up with some first URM. 97 complete revision. 2007 was the latest version, and it is adopted and followed by almost all the journals. Again, this is generic. is applicable to all scientific and engineering journals. Okay, as I was referring to, it's popularly known as the URM, that is the Uniform Requirement or Vancouver Style. Okay, and what has happened in 2013, they have changed the name, wherein they call it as the Recommendation for the Conduct of Reporting and Publication of Scholarly Work in Medical Journals. 14 to 17, they are coming up with some annual revision regularly. Okay, these are their, you can go to their website and explore all these things, that is defining the role of authors and contributors, who should be referred to as a author, responsibilities, their in the submission and peer review process. Again, they have fixed up the responsibility. Let's say if the editorial board is not functioning properly, again, they may take appropriate action against them. Then the protection of research participation and so on. Right. Now, having said this, this is all about the research and development. That is the first session, which I think tried my level best to talk on. Let me try to sum up whatever we have dealt with. That is, we have started with what is integrity. Then we have seen what is academic integrity in particular. Right? Then we have talked about what they call it as the ethics, okay, wherein we have seen two underlying theory of absolutism, theory of relativism, okay, and then gradually we have moved towards the various directions, and then the type of compromises with regard to these issues by the regulating agency like UGC and AICT, wherein specifically we have studied provisions of 2018, 23rd July 2018, and I think somewhere I have also referred to 20th April 2020. Okay, these two notifications are important. Right. Apart from that, we have again tried to explore what they call it as the conflict of interest and what are the various organizations uh, actively working in this particular domain. That is Committee on Publication Ethics, COPE, WAME, ICMJE, and so on. Right. So almost I've done with my first session. If there are any specific queries, you can fire it now. Let me stop sharing. So there are around 39 participants. Right. Anybody would like to, instead of asking a question, or you want to comment on what is your take on all these issues, whether these things should be taken up seriously or what is it? We will have some brainstorming on these things. So any one of you would like to come up with your own views in this regard, you are welcome. Saurabh Shah sir, are you there? Because you were the only person who was actively involved. That is why I'm taking your name. Again, there are a lot of known faces. Saurabh, are you there? I think he has left. Great. Tell you.
Hello,
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Please.
sir. This is Dr. Irshad Beg.
Yes, sir.
First
Irshad, sir.
of all, I
Please.
would like to say
Uh,
that, sir, you have given very nice session.
yes, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I would like to draw your attention on the word that is peer-reviewed journal,
Okay.
and I want more clarification on this term peer-reviewed journal. Generally, what happen? Any journal who basically have their own peer review process.
Mm-hmm.
There are two category. One category they have just doing the formality,
Uh-huh.
and there are some good journals who actually appointing a you can say that expert, renowned expert from their field.
Correct.
But these terms are very common. So there are some scientific community who are putting their extra efforts and doing publications in so-called peer-reviewed journal.
Yes, yes.
And there are some journals which generally take some money and publish the paper. They are also called as peer-reviewed journal.
Yes,
So, UGC has not distinguished or defined the term peer-reviewed process. Could you talk on this point, sir?
yes, yes. Thank you, sir. I think you have touched upon a very important aspect of how peer review is being done. Okay, so we are all Indians, sir. Not you allow me to speak little bit on some other lines, but again, I have got my own limitation. We may have some personal discussion on these aspects, but as I said, that is whatever organizations I have talked about, you know, so they have clearly defined what peer review is all about. So, as a matter of fact, peer reviewed must be carried out in a blind manner, wherein the identity of the author, okay, that should be kept as confidential. Okay, so I still remember when I wrote my first article when I was working towards my PhD to CSI journal, right? Those days, this online submission was not allowed, right? Those days, they used to ask for uh, hard copy of 7 or 8 in 7 or 8 number, and we used to submit it to the CSI journal, and then they used to uh, send it for peer review and so on, right? So if I am not um, wrong, actually what has happened, that is wherein they used to give you some specific instruction. So the author's identity, even the mail ID, mobile number, or whatever, right, contact details, that should be that is usually kept hidden. So ideally, let's say if you go for blind review, what they call it as, right, blind paper review, that is mandatorily needed, and that is what I was saying. Now what is happening, I will not name the journal or the publishing house. Most of the journals, they ask for you suggest 2 or 3 peer review in this domain. The author, they expect the author, and their online system is in such a way wherein you are supposed to give the you can say the reviewer's name. Okay. Right. Now how far this is correct? Okay, so definitely there are issues. It is being manipulated. As a matter of fact, now that is what has happened, sir. If you look at the UGC, I think you have touched upon, that is how UGC is taking up this particular issue. So UGC is is not serious. As a matter of fact, I should say I'm making a bold statement, because what has happened, they have come up with some UGC care list which was maintained by University of Pune. Okay, they have been shoulder the responsibility of maintaining that UGC care list. But if you look at the way in which it was handled, okay, every fortnightly, okay, 10 to 15 odd journals were added, okay, into the list, and some 50 odd journals were delisted from the list, and so on. So we are all human being ultimately, right? So the manipulations are all the time there. I am not denying that. But ideally, what has to be there, and what are the ways and means, right? Let's say if you have suffered, somebody has taken up your, you can say, idea, and he or she has come up, and later on you realize that this is what has happened. Okay, so you may approach these agencies. Okay, you may launch a complaint with them. Okay, and they appoint usually a committee. Okay, the committee will take up that issue. Okay, and then later on, let's say if it is correct, so it may happen that the author has to retract the paper and so on. Again, there are few more penalties, that is many times you have to give a written apology, and so on. Okay, so these issues are there, sir, but there are no clear cut guidelines as far as the now UGC is scrapped. Now I'm not sure, but some discussion was going on. Now UGC has taken out that mandate of having 2 or 3 publications for getting a PhD, because they later on they realize the quality of research is not that way, right? So ultimately, let's say these are the facts, sir. These are the open-ended questions, and the research community has to find their own solutions to these problems. That is what I can say, Rishad, sir. Right? I hope
Yes, sir. Yes,
you.
sir. Thank
है
you.
ना? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, since this meeting is being recorded, I have some limitation. I cannot openly discuss on some of all these issues, but I've tried
Yes,
my
sir, I
level
can
best.
understand.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And one more thing I would like to tell you, all of you, that these sessions, whatever session, let's say, due to some or the other reason, if you have missed, okay, you can join our channel. Okay, our UGC MMTC channel, we have a separate dedicated channel for this. All these sessions are recorded and they are kept there. So you may refer to them as and when needed. Yes, sir. Anybody else who wish to ask anything? Hello. I think somewhere Praveen Chaudhary sir बीच में से दिखाई दिए थे. चलिए. So this is all as far as the one important part, that is research and development, is concerned. So we will move ahead with the second session. Okay. Second session, as I've told you, that is we will be talking on. I hope my slides are visible to you. Oh, sorry, I have stopped sharing. You know. Let me start sharing my. Okay. Whether you can see my screen now. Is it visible? Any one of you just confirm so that I can proceed further. Whether the slides are visible to you.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, thank you. Right. So the second session, as I've told you, that is, I think, is nothing much as far as your institution is concerned, because I know that is you are excelling in certain areas. Okay, so ICT, I think you must be using it extensively. But as I've told you, that is these are the 8 areas wherein, right, it is these programs are not intended for only science and engineering. It is common for all. So many times now, unfortunately, in this case, we are having all the participants from a particular institution of the same background, that is engineering technology or science and technology. But many times we deal with some diverse sort of crowd, right? So, and that is why these topics are, or these 8 thematic areas have been designed by the UGC, okay, wherein they have come up, that is how to conduct this NEP's orientation and sensitization. So ICT is one of the area. Okay, so we'll just try to have a look at what are the various ICT tools for teaching, learning, and assessment. Right, this is what is there as far as the second session is concerned. Okay, but we will start with this second session. But I will be happy if you can interact on some of the point, because as I'm telling you repeatedly, that is the delivery of these sessions is not in the conventional way, wherein only one way sort of, you can say. That's why you must have seen that some of the directors, they must have asked you to even um, put your cameras on, right? That was the reason, right? So the idea is to brainstorm on some of the things, as Irshad Beg sir was talking about the peer review process, because we need to find our own solutions. Okay, nobody else will come up to help you out, I tell you, right? You have to find out your own solutions, and that solutions are only possible when you interact. Okay, when you respond, when you get involved, right? Now, having said this, this is what is there, but again, I'll be taking you a little bit fast on some aspect, but I'll be happy if you can interact in between, right? So as far as this session is concerned, okay, these are the learning objectives of this particular session. Okay, wherein we will start with, now you may find, some of you may find little bit fundamental of, you can say, the aspects like, say, state various terms in psychologies of learning and instruction, wherein we will just have a look at some 4 or 5 terminologies. I know we are doing it in our day-to-day life as a teacher, But still, since we are from science or engineering background, I don't think that all of you must be having a B.Ed kind of a qualification, okay, barring few exceptions. So those who are into teaching, that too, people like me, when we started our career, like we were plain B, we were not aware that is how to teach. So we learned teaching by our peers, okay, and you know, right? That is how it happens, right? So explain the teaching learning process. We will just try to have a look at, again, this is, as I'm referring to every now and then, UGC has given a clear-cut guideline that these are the topics, this is how it should be covered, and so on. So list the factors of influencing in learning. Okay, I'm not saying that these contents are given by the UGC, but they have given broad guidelines. So based on that, this has been designed. What are the modes of learning, transfer of learning, and laws of learning? So as a teacher, we need to know all these things. Okay, maybe we are well acquainted with these terminologies, okay, but when somebody asks you to define, many times you may find it little bit difficult to answer. Okay, then we will have a look at what is assessment, what is SAMR model, what is technology enabled assessment tool, that is T. Okay, and then some tools we will just try to have a look at, maybe not necessarily the list which is indicated there. Okay, that I will go as per your own need. Let's say if some of the tools you are already using, we will skip all those tools. We will focus on something which you have not explored, right? So this is how I have planned this session. This is the very first slide, wherein, as I said, that is, we will be having a look at what are the psychological learning terminologies. So these are the 5 terminologies we normally came across in our day-to-day life. The very first one is the pedagogy, right? So these are the basics of, you can say, the teaching, learning, and so on. So what is your take on pedagogy? What is your understanding of pedagogy? What is it exactly, and whether you are using it in your day-to-day life? Yes or no? Any one of you? Again, I do not want to test your knowledge. I know some of you are more competent than me on these areas. Okay, so just to get you involved in the discussion. That is the only purpose of asking these questions, right? So what is pedagogy to your understanding? What is it? Whether we are using it in our day-to-day life? Any one of you? We will invest some 3 to 4 minutes on these 5 terminologies, not more than that. But what is your take on pedagogy? I hope I am loud and clear and you people are with me. You have decided not to answer. No issues. Chaliye. What is it? It is the method and practice of teaching, especially as an academic subject or theoretical concept. That is, whatever approach you adopt, whenever you are supposed to deliver in a class, that to a theoretical stuff more specifically. Okay, it is nothing but the pedagogy. And what is the underlying principle of pedagogy or adopting some or the other pedagogy is how best to teach. Okay. Now, if you look at the historical perspective, it is also known as the theory of education, which has been defined by Herbert. Okay. Okay. So pedagogy is nothing but the method and practice of teaching as an academic subject or theoretical concept. So are there any specific steps when it comes to pedagogy? If yes, what are they? How do you approach it? Right? It is nothing but the approach, it is nothing but the method or practice to deal with an academic subject or theoretical concept. So are there any specific steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, or there are no steps? Okay, you can you can devise your own formula to deal with the subject. That is again true. But ideally speaking, there are, as a matter of fact, there are 5 crucial steps of, you can say, the psychological learning terminologies. The very first one is preparation. Okay, second is the presentation. Third is the association. Fourth one is the generalization, and the fifth one is the application. So normally, whenever we go for delivering on any subject, what do? Normally we gather the information, gather the related material. Okay, that comes under preparation. Then what do? Next, normally we prepare maybe some PowerPoint presentation in today's environment, or maybe, let's say, some handwritten notes, what we used to call it as a handouts. Okay, and then you will go chalk lecture plan or the teaching plan, and then you go into the class and actually go on delivering or the presentation, right? Then during presentation, it is expected as an ideal teacher that you must try to deal with these three things, that is association, generalization, and application. Now here I will make some bold statement. Okay, may not be all of you will not agree with that, but as a teacher, we all struggle when it comes to association, generalization, and application. The reason behind that is normally we treat subject in isolation. Okay, normally I'm not saying all the time, but that may be the reason. Okay, and we have very hard boundaries when it comes to any particular subject. Let's say if I am teaching mathematics, okay, I do not want to think that is how this Fourier transform is being applied in digital signal processing. Okay, so we teach that is how to solve a Fourier transform problem. Okay, so even though we are good at very good at we are excellent in our domain. I'm not saying that, but we are ignorant about these things, and that is where the basic problem lies, right? So having said this, the very first thing is nothing but the pedagogy. The second one is the andragogy. Have you heard this term? Again, I will take a pause for 1 or 2 minutes. That gives me a breathing time as well, because see, speaking 3 hours in a single go is little bit difficult, and that's why you are finding that my pace is again going a little bit slower, right? So earlier it was very high. Now it is, yeah. So what is andragogy? Have you heard? Have you heard this term? What is andragogy? Andragogy is something when you are dealing with adult learners. Now, if you look at the kind of input you get in your colleges, okay, senior colleges or an engineering college or maybe any professional college for that purpose, is basically adult learners. So andragogy is when you are dealing with adult learners. So normally we need to adopt not pedagogy while going for a class, rather we need to adopt a andragogy, right? So what is andragogy is all about? When you are dealing with adult learners, in what way you need to change your approach? Any one of you would like to talk on that? How we need to change our approach? There are two, three things. The very first thing is pedagogy. If you typically remember, when I've talked about pedagogy, is when you are dealing with some theoretical concept. Andragogy is basically when you are dealing with not only the theory but the practical aspects of it. That is learning by doing. Okay, and when the kind of input is adult learners. Okay, and the underlying philosophy, if you look at the pedagogy, is how best to teach. Whereas in the case of andragogy, actually the ideology, the basic principle, the underlying principle is you need to change your role from a teacher to a facilitator of learning. Right? You may ask how it is possible, right? It is possible by simply creating a conducive environment wherein the learning takes place. Right? So it is not necessary that you should teach all the time. Okay, even if you are, and that is why it is important to note that, say, if you have succeeded in your role as a facilitator of learning, you have done your job, right? Because again, most of the time we feel that we are the only source of information, but at least in 2025 it is completely invalid. Let's say these things were valid when I remember, that is when I used to teach way back in 1990. Okay, those days I used to make statement in the class, please pay attention to my session or lecture, because you will not find this stuff whatever I am telling you in any of the book, because most of the books those days they were out of print, and some way or the other we used to get those the access to those books as a teacher. Okay, only one copy in the library, right? So how the student will get access? Now those statements are completely invalid. as on 2025. Because let's say if I'm referring to operating system by Parveen Hansen, okay, and if I make a statement in 2025 in my class, okay, some student will stand up and he will say, he or she will say, sir, you are referring to this book, this is the PDF, I will send it to you on WhatsApp. Right? So the students are equipped. What as a teacher we need to understand that is they learn from you. Definitely. Again, there is a myth in most of us mind that is the learning takes place within the four wall of the classroom or the laboratory or the institution in a broader perspective. But that is again absolutely wrong. Now you have thousands of it. The student learn from their peers, student learn from their parents, student learn from the society. Now the student learn from the another master stroke is AI based application, which we will touch upon. Okay, so the sources, there are thousands of sources, right? So what you need to do as a teacher is, it is, as I said, it is the method and practice of teaching adult learners. And this is not at all new. It was tossed way back in 1833 by Alexander Kapp, who happens to be a German educator, right? So it is the science of understanding theory and supporting practice. And what is the ultimate objective? If just try to recall in case of pedagogy is, it was how best to teach. It is how to transform an ordinary learner into a lifelong learner. That is the tagline here, right? So it is based on the conception of self-directed and autonomous learner, okay, as well as teachers as a facilitator of learning. So you need to change your role from a teacher to a facilitator of learning, right? So this is what is andragogy is all about. Now the another term which I have tossed, if you just try to recall, is the teaching, training and learning. Any one of you would like to talk on this? What is teaching, what is training, and what is learning? Okay, we will not, as I said, we will not invest more than 2 to 3 minutes on this concept. So, but who is a teacher and what is teaching and what is training and what is learning? Are they same or they are different? Teaching oblique training or oblique learning? Can we have this sort of thing or they are altogether different? What is your take on this? Okay, tell you. So what is teaching is it is defined as an interactive process. Okay, whenever we say that some teaching is taking place, meaning thereby there is some interaction taking place. Okay, interaction is the basic condition for teaching to take place, primarily involving classroom talk, which takes, now who are the parties involved in this case? The student and the teacher. Okay, which takes place between the teacher and students and occurs during definable activities. And what is the output of teaching is the thereby resulting in learning. So you may call the output of teaching is the learning. Okay, again, most of us, we feel that it is one of the most easiest job. Okay, that is again absolutely rubbish. Okay, the society's perception is, since you don't get any job, you are into teaching, right? That is again wrong. Okay, because if you want to be a good teacher, you have to have these three peculiar characteristics present in yourself. What is it? Creative proficiency of an artist, precise attitude of a scientist, and the perfected skills of a craftsman. Yesterday, I think Professor Zabu Thomas has talked about the skill set and so on. Right. So this is even though I've read out these things in just in a single go, but they are domain in themselves. It is not at all easy. Let's say if you are teaching to 60 odd students in a classroom kind of an environment, as a matter of fact, you are facing 60 odd challenges in front of you because they are not same. Okay, some of them they are fast learners, some of them they are slow learners, some of the students they are in between. And what do you do as a teacher? You give them similar treatment. So whether it is correct, and that's why the technology play a vital role in this area, wherein in the times to come you will find that you will have customized product. Okay, you will have customized product. Okay, they will conduct some test, and based on the IQ level, okay, they will come up with other, they will adopt some or the most efficient approach to teach them. Okay, and it will be individual, one to one, individualized, okay, personal or personalized, right, and so on. So teacher again is not at all easy. Teaching is not at all easy. It is one of the most challenging job if you take it seriously. What is training? Okay, training and teaching, normally we used to put a slash, but again that is again wrong. Okay, training is wherein it is of a shorter duration, as a matter of fact, and it is more oriented towards the skill. Let's say you want to learn how to drive a car, you join a training school. You will not join a college for that purpose. So it is basically of a shorter duration. It is expected to give immediate result. That is, after completing that 4-week course, you should be able to drive the car. It is something like that. And if you look at the historical perspective of this term, it has evolved in World War II. What has happened? There were a shortage of soldiers. Okay, so the ordinary citizens, they were trained to operate warfare equipment, and they were deployed at the warfront, something like that. Right. Then we have one more term, is the learning. Now this is important, right? This is important. This is, I think, the area which we will touch upon in a greater detail. What is learning? It is a relatively permanent change in behavior resulting from reinforced practice, doing it again and again. Now, if you just try to understand this in a greater detail, you will find that it is a process as well as a product. Why I'm calling it as a process? Because let's say the student, they take admission into any BE BTech course, okay, and then they undergo maybe 5 subjects in each semester. Okay, that is nothing but the process. And when they passed out, okay, all the 8 semester, and they leave your premises with a smiling face, they become your product. And that product must have some peculiar characteristics present in them. Let's say if it is not so, meaning thereby something is wrong in your system, right? So it is the nature or tendency of human beings. So we are lifelong learner, some way or the other. We many times we see all the time the learning is taking place everywhere. Okay, so again, that's why repeatedly I'm telling you that is learning never takes place within the 4 walls of the uh, classroom or a college or a lab, but it is everywhere. It is the process of mental development. Now, how you will define it? It is the process of mental development. Now, what are the dimensions of it? The very first one is the cognitive domain, second is the affective, and the third one is the psychomotor. Right? It is both positive and negative. Being a teacher, again, this aspect we need to understand. That is, we feel, see, we are all the time we aimed at passing on the information in the positive manner, wherein the positive transfer takes place, but the other possibility is again there. It is individual in nature. Why I was saying so? Because there are slow learner, fast learner, and so on. And it when you can claim that the objective of a education system has met, when you transform an ordinary student to a critical thinker or a lifelong learner. Okay, so if you are capable of if your system is capable of doing so, then definitely you have achieved your objective. So these are the, you can say, typically the cycle is something like this. You have input, output. Okay, in between you have intended learning outcomes, then you have curriculum achieved outcomes. Maybe these are the characteristics normally we look for whenever the student passed out, whether they are employable, professional, entrepreneur, and so on. So the input to any education setup is the student oblique learner, and the output is the finished product in terms of the employable, professional, or entrepreneur, or whatever. Right, nowadays the few more terms are coming up, right? And this is where we talk about the intended learning outcome. So I'll be referring to the OBE kind of a environment, wherein you define the objectives in the beginning, and then you have a curriculum, and then what do? We map these all those outcomes into the desired one, right? Something like that. Now, this is a typical, this is again, most of the time we are not well acquainted with this. Okay, so these are the 4 building blocks of a teaching model. One should be very careful about this. That is, the very first one is nothing but the instructional objectives. Okay, this is what is expected from any educational setup. You have an entering behavior, instructional procedure, and at the end, normally we have a performance assessment. So these are the 4 building blocks. Okay. Now, if you look at this session itself, my slide number 2 was the instructional objectives, which I have set in the beginning. That, well, for this session, this is what we are going to look at. Okay. Entering behavior is your perception about that particular concept. Okay, before entering into the class or a course from the student's perspective, right? So normally, let's say if you go for a corporate training, what do? They conduct a zero-day test. Okay, whatever is the area. Let's say you want to learn cybersecurity, so they will conduct a zero-day test. Moment you join, they will ask you to appear for that test. Okay, what is the objective? Because they wanted to know what is your level of understanding of that particular subject before you join, and then they will teach you. You will undergo various modules. Okay, instructional procedure is nothing but that block represent this instructional procedure, and at the end what happens once again is when you finish up your all the modules, okay, you will be assigned again, you will be assessed against some performance matrix. Okay, so and then they just try to analyze, that is, what was your score before and what is now your score after the completion of that course. Right. So this is a typically educational model and basic teaching model. And if you critically look at this, you will find that everywhere there are all these, they are fully connected. What is the reason? The reason is pretty simple. That is, you need to have a feedback mechanism. But unfortunately, right, I'm very sorry to say that most of the time when it comes to feedback, we are reluctant as a teacher or any other stakeholders, because normally we are reluctant. Okay, because we let's say if you want to improve upon, definitely you have to have a feedback mechanism, and that's why these feedbacks, bidirectional arrows are there, so that you can take corrective actions whenever something goes wrong. Right. Now I will not elaborate on these aspects. These slides we will skip. Okay, performance assessment, I've already talked about all those issues. Now we need to understand that there are some factors which affects the learning. Okay, there are some personal factors, there are some emotional factors as well. But as far as NEP 2020 is concerned, okay, these are very common: interest, motivation, intelligence, and so on. But these two are important to understand. That is the aptitude and the attitude. Now, if you look at the curricula, okay, now we are incorporating those things just because of this NEP 2020. But earlier we were not having anything with regard to aptitude and attitude. And that's why we used to have that finishing school kind of a concept, wherein the students were supposed to undergo some maybe the placement training sort of thing for a 4 week or 8 week duration, right? Because it was not there in the curricula, right? Now, if you look at these things, okay, you will be surprised. Okay, you will be surprised, even though they are more important as compared to the knowledge you have. Look at the, you can say, the selection process of any corporate organizations. Okay, normally they do not pick up students who are having 9.5 or 9.0 as a pointer. They pick up student maybe from 7 to 7.5, and when you ask them, they will come up with a simple answer. Well, sir, the student, maybe, as you are saying, his pointer is good. He is, again, we also feel that he is technically good, or practically, or the other aspect, he is good. But he is not a good fit for our organizational structure, right? Or culture, more specifically. And when you pinpointedly ask, they will elaborate on that. They will say, sir, that fellow is really good, but he is not good when it comes to communication. He is not good when it comes to work in a team, and so on and so forth. And that is why we are not picking up, because see that changing the aptitude and the attitude is not that easy. But let's say if you are little bit lagging in terms of some quality, you can say some technical skills, that can be done undergoing a maybe 15 days short-term course, or maybe 4 week course, or whatever, right? But aptitude and attitude, let's say you are very introvert kind of a person, so it is a bit difficult, and that is what this NEP is suggesting. Certain changes we need to incorporate those things, right? So we need to understand this aptitude and attitude, okay, which is a primary factor which affects the learning in general, right? Environmental factors I will not touch upon. What are the modes of learning? As a teacher, we need to understand. So we feel that the learning takes place within the four walls of the classroom or the institution, but these are the four ways in which these are the modes of learning. And they are all self-explanatory. I will not elaborate on those. Learning by observation. Most of the time, the student learn by simply observation, by imitation, by trial and error. That is what do they do in the laboratory sessions. Learning by insight is the highest level. Okay, wherein you transform an ordinary student to a lifelong learner, right? So these are the you can say the modes. Okay, and then this is again important thing I wanted to touch upon is the transfer of learning. So as a teacher, we feel that whenever we are teaching, the positive mode of transfer is taking place, but there are two more possibilities: negative and zero. So positive, we all of us will agree, we always aimed at getting that positive transfer. But let's say if the learning of a particular task interferes with the learning of a subsequent task, it is called as the negative transfer, right? And that possibility is there. So being a teacher, particularly those who are young, okay, I don't know how many of you are young teachers. Okay, we need to understand this, right, as a teacher. And the third possibility is there, for learning of a task makes no difference, it is said to be a zero task. That is again important, right? Now, having said this, these are the laws of learning. Okay, again, I will not elaborate. They are all self-explanatory. Law of readiness, law of practice, law of effect. Okay, this is what we encounter in our day-to-day routine. Okay, when you enter into the class, the students say, "Sir, today we are in some different mood, festive mood. Okay, please don't take class." Okay, and that at that point of time, as a teacher, you should not teach them, right? That is the best way of this, because they are not ready to listen. So if they are not ready for learning, there's no fun in compelling them to sit in the class and listen to you, right? Law of practice, doing it again and again. That is what we do in laboratories. Law of effect. Okay, teacher should provide. This is what I was referring to. Conducive environment wherein the learning takes place. Again, if you have done this, this is again more than enough. I tell you, as a teacher, right? Now, what is learning? This is what we have already seen. That is the permanent change in behavior resulting from reinforced practice. So if one is really learning, one's behavior becomes more effective and adaptive. Okay, what it was used to be before. Okay, so this is again we need to understand. Now, what are the three dimensions? Okay, which we have touched upon, three domains of learning. Now, I will talk little bit on these aspects because they are important. Okay, that is the very first one is the cognitive dimension. That is the knowledge and the intellectual skill. Okay, second is the emotions and attitudes, which I was referring to, and the third one is the psychomotor. So in our setup, okay, you may claim that, sir, out of these three, two are there, but the third one is missing. And that is where the NEP provides you some space for making all those changes, wherein we are talking about value education, wherein we are talking about the IKS, wherein we are talking about some other courses and so on, right? So emotions and attitudes. Motor skill, again, I'm really sorry to say, this is based on my observation, right? Maybe I'm wrong. We claim that we are having that psychomotor kind of activity, but unfortunately when it comes to assessing practical examination, okay, normally we are not doing our duty the way in which it is supposed to be, right? Why it is so? Because if you look at the practical conduct of practical examination, normally if the student remain present, we do not have any failures. I have never ever seen in my entire 35 years of career wherein we have failed anybody, okay, in the practical examination, as long as he or she was physically present for that particular examination. फेल तो बहुत दूर की बात है. Let's say if you give out of 25, less than 20, the internal examiner will object, and next time he will not ask you to visit their institute. Okay, you will be branded as no, not sir. वो sir छोड़ के चाहिए अपने को, right? So normally what do? We have a goody kind of an environment wherein I visit your place, you visit my place, okay, and then we go for, and that is what is we are different when it comes to cities like Pune and so on. Okay, wherein they take up these things little bit more seriously, and that's why their students are more employable, right? They have that skill, okay, because I very well remember one of my nephew, when he appeared for, he was preparing for the practical exam. I used to say, your theory examination is over means everything is over. Okay, you go and enjoy. So he was saying, I have to be very serious. Okay, many times they fail in the practical examination as well. But that threat is not there in our setup, unfortunately, and wherein we need to take some corrective action. Okay, so this is my observation. Maybe you will agree with me or you may not agree with me, but we have to take that particular aspect a little bit more seriously. Now, this is a typical teaching, okay, and learning. As I said, that is you have the cognitive domain, affective, and the psychomotor. Now, we will be focusing on how to apply Bloom's taxonomy to all these blocks. Like that is how it can be used from, you can say, the scratch to finish. Okay, those aspects we will see, and then later on, if time permits, okay, we will have some hands-on on some of the tools. Right now, let me move ahead with the cognitive aspect. As you can see, if you look at the our traditional tech systems, wherein we give undue importance to these cognitive aspects. Okay, cognitive means understanding, problem solving, maybe deriving a formula or application. Okay, but when it comes to the affective dimensions or the domain, wherein we have values, attitudes, we do not have any scope for that. Okay, but now NEP has made it possible, right? Practical skills, again, even though it is there, okay, we need to take some corrective action. Okay, so this is my observation. Maybe you will agree with me or you may not agree with me, but we have to take that particular aspect a little bit more seriously. Now, this is Okay, as far as the science and technology courses are concerned. Okay, but when it comes to, let's say, the arts or humanities, again there's no. But now they have introduced, just because of this NEP, wherein the internship has been embedded into the curricula. Okay, wherein six month internship is mandatory. Okay, whether you are doing a bachelor of art degree, okay, doesn't matter. You need to go to the maybe the newspaper or any and practice your language. Okay, whether you are doing it in Marathi literature or Hindi literature or whatever, right? So that internship has been made mandatory. But in engineering or science and technology, we do have mechanism for this, but unfortunately, we are not serious about those things, right? We conduct it very casually, I tell you. But merely the physical presence gives you 20-21 out of 25. Okay, so we need to have some corrective actions as far as these things are concerned. Right. So, having said this, KSA, that is knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Okay, this is the man. I'm well aware that all of you must be well acquainted with. So, I'll be going a little bit fast as far as this is concerned. So, this is the man behind this. This is what they call it as the Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, wherein taxonomy is nothing but the classification, wherein you have the intellectual behavior, which is important, and what has happened. That is, this fellow has been assigned the task to conduct a survey, and they have come up. This is how they function, the developed nation, right? Way back in 1956. Right, it is a committee, just like we do have committee in our university setup as well for various purposes. And how do we function, and how these people they function? It was a committee headed by Dr. Benjamin Bloom, and they have been assigned this task. Okay, that you do this and so. So they have come up with a fantastic theory, what they call it as the instructional theory or the Bloom's taxonomy, right? The beauty of this theory is this can be used as a tool for instructor to assist with writing learning outcome. Just try to recall my slide number 2, wherein I have jotted down some outcome for this session. Curriculum planning, that is COPO writing and so on. Content delivery, that is how it is to be delivered in the classroom kind of environment. And if you just try to recall the basic teaching model, the fourth block, that is the assessment. So from scratch to finish everything, that is start to finish everything, it is there. Start to finish. That is block number 1 to block number 4. Learning outcomes, curriculum mapping, content delivery, and assessment. Right. So this can be used as a tool for doing all those activities in a single go. Right. So this Bloom's taxonomy one can adopt. Okay. This is also known as the learning objectives theory and so on. Right. So what was their observation, particularly with regard to assessment, is what they call it as, if you look at the question paper, okay, of any university, you may look at our own paper. Okay, you will find that how do we set the question paper? Normally we gather 3 or 4 last year's papers and we make a khichdi out of it, right? So we do it in that way. And that is why the problem is of grave, it becomes of grave importance. Okay, wherein we do not think even, that is how to make use of all these 6 level of Bloom's taxonomy. So normally we give undue importance. Most of the time we do not cross more than the level number 3, that is the application level. Okay, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation is completely missing most of the time. I am not saying all the time. There are good people and bad people in every system, right? But if you take up this job little bit seriously, you will find that it requires a lot of time and energy. Okay, you cannot set a paper within an hour or so. Most of the time, the papers are being produced in the examination section there itself, right? Let's say if you go for 2 papers, and the third can be produced by section A and section B. This is how we do it, right? So anyway, this I am not criticizing anyone. My ideology is we need to uh, identify at which level of Bloom we are working, and that can be very well identified by simply looking at the question paper. And that's why whenever NAC or NBA people visit your institute, they ask for last year's question paper, and then they come up with their critical comments. Well, professor, you are working at level number 3. What about level 4, 5, and 6? Right. So that is missing in your education system. Either they are missing, or you are not properly mapping it, or not you are not evaluating them, or whatever. So you need to take some corrective action in that regard. Right. So you can very well identify it by looking at the action verbs. Okay, wherein remember is the, you can say, the lowest level, and the difficulty level is the is the lowest when you are working at this knowledge level, and it goes on increasing when you go to evaluation level. So it is highest for level number 6, that is evaluation, and lowest at the knowledge level. But if you look at the question paper, most of the time you will find that we struggle, rather we have questions like define, explain, and so on, right? So this slide will give you an insight. That is, if you simply look at the keywords, you can very well understand at which level you are working. Let's say if you are having build, make, construct, model, prepare, then you are working at application level. That's why I said most of the time we work up to level number 3. We do not go beyond that. Okay, and we need to identify why it is so, and then how to move ahead and so on. Right. So how you can use Bloom? You can use Bloom for writing the learning outcomes. You can use it for curriculum mapping. As I said, that is the COPO mapping. And last but not the least, you may use it for the assessment and measurement purpose. That is what is our area of interest as far as this session is concerned. Right. So having said this, you may come up with some POs. Okay, I'll not elaborate on all those aspects. Okay, because that will require another maybe 1 hour or so, but we do not have time. Okay, because we will be looking at some of the tools, hands-on on some of the tools. Okay, so I'll not talk much on these aspects. You are all well acquainted with all these things. That is what is graduate attributes, how to frame them. Okay, so we have various n number of things when it comes to graduate attributes. Now it is not possible to put everything in a single course. Okay, so you need to identify out of maybe this 14, 15. Okay, you need to identify 4 and 5, because it is not possible to achieve all of them in a particular course, right, or in a single course. Then you need to perform. Okay, maybe let's say again, while designing POs for a particular subject or a course. Okay, it is not necessary to have one CO for one particular unit. Again, not mandatory. You may have 4, 5, or 7 depending upon your requirement. But you need to keep a close eye on how to map this GS to your COs and POs and so on. That is what they call it as the mapping. Let's say in GS you are talking something else, and in POs it is not being reflected, meaning thereby you are doing something wrong. Okay, so it should be in line with what your GAs are. COs, POs should be mapped accordingly. Right. This is a general, very broad perspective I am giving you with regard to setting up of GEOs. I have got some sample slides for computer science, but I will not talk on those aspects because it will take a lot of time. Okay. But there are some peculiar characteristics one must have as far as the COs are concerned. That is, it must be specific, it must be measurable, and it must be achievable. Why I'm saying so? Because if it is very generalized, okay, definitely it will not be possible for you to measure it. Okay, and let's say if there are too many, okay, it is not possible to achieve it within that stipulated amount of time, right? So you have a limited amount of hours available at your disposal. So you need to prepare it in accordance to that, right? So uh, on the top, you need to design certain GAs, then POs, then COs, and you need to map all of them in a way so that it should be linked with each other, right? Something like that, right? So again, there is no hard-coded rule. That is how much percentage you can assign to this. That is, you may have based on your own. Okay, you may even skip. Let's say if you do not want to have any COs on the remember, okay, you may skip. Okay, but again, there is no hard-coded rule. That is, it has to be 1 per unit, or the weightage should be 10% for this and 10% for that. Nothing like that. It all depends what kind of graduates you want to produce, right? Let's say if you want to produce people, they are good in research and development, then your philosophy should be altogether different and so on, right? Now, having said this, the difficulty level, I think I have already talked about. That is when you are working at the lowest level, that is the knowledge level, the difficulty is the lowest. And when you move upward, the difficulty is the highest. Right. So this is how it is. And what has happened over a period of time, one of the student of Dr. Benjamin Bloom, that is Lauren Anderson, he has come up with a revised Bloom's taxonomy. Okay. Actually, he has proposed only 2 small changes. The one change which he has proposed was he has transformed noun to verbs. Okay, which is again seems very logical. Okay, and the second is he has interchanged. He has proposed to interchange the level number 5th with 6th. Okay, so 5th evaluate as the fifth level and creativity as the highest level, which is again very logical, and it was accepted by the world community. Now it is popularly known as revised Bloom's taxonomy, which is being adopted by almost all the institutions. Now, if you look at knowledge, that has been replaced by remember, okay, then understand, application by apply, analysis by analyze, evaluation by evaluate, and creativity by create, and so on. So this is revised Bloom's taxonomy, right? Now, let's say even if you are working at the lowest level, that is the knowledge level, again, you have got 4 dimensions. Okay, even if you are working at the lowest level, what I'm trying to say is you can move from factual knowledge to the metacognitive knowledge. Now, what is it? We'll just try to understand in simple words. When you are dealing with, let's say, if you are having something like, say, basically, you are having a question wherein you are asking students to define a particular thing. Okay, it is, as a matter of fact, you are working, even though you are working at knowledge level, you are working at the lowest level of that knowledge. That is the factual knowledge. But when you are talking about the interrelationship among the basic element, 2 or 3 elements, how do they interact with each other and what is their dependency and so on. If you are setting questions for on those aspects, you are working at conceptual. Then third is the procedural knowledge, wherein you are talking about how to do something. That is the method of inquiry, how to achieve it. What is the criteria? Okay, algorithms, techniques, and methods. Right? Metacognitive, which is the highest level of this knowledge dimension, is in general, as well as awareness, as well as the knowns of one's own cognition. Now, this is a little bit different. Okay, this requires a little bit more elaboration, but as I've told you that we are having short of time. Okay, so we will skip this, but you need to keep these things in your mind. That is, even if you are working at knowledge level, okay, how you can move from this factual to a metacognitive, right? Okay, factual to a metacognitive one, right? Now, there are 2 more, I think, domain which we have talked about. Again, we will have a cursory look at the affective domain, which talks about the student's belief. It is from the student's perspective, right? So, Crothol's taxonomy of affective domain, wherein we were talking about attitude, aptitude, and so on. So, receiving, responding, valuing, organization, these are the 5 categories. I will not elaborate on them, they are all self-explanatory. Okay. So, receiving students' willingness to attend, responding to active participation on the part of the student, that is, how do you get them involved in the discussion, worth of value a student attaches to a particular object, organizing, bringing together different values, resolving conflicts, characterization by value, and so on. Right. So this is the affective domain. The third one is you are well acquainted with. I think we have talked much on that psychomotor domain. That is how to deal with all those aspects. That is the practical aspect, learning by doing and so on. Now, having said this, let us come to the assessment component. Okay, the assessment component, let's say, as I said, I was talking about, that is, if you set questions of sort like, say, MCQ and so on, you are working at Bloom's level 1. Summarize an article, okay, understand, that is Bloom's level 2. Analysis, okay, analyzing some case study, okay, or you give some case study and ask the student to analyze. Normally it is there in case of MBA. Most of them, see, their approach is very fantastic, I tell you. There is nothing right or wrong. I did my MBA in HR and I was so happy to learn very many new things, I tell you. Right? Why it is so? Because they don't ask you what is leadership and all. They give you a scenario wherein they will ask you, that is, what kind of decision you will take in this case and how you will deal with that kind of situation. So it is basically a case study kind of approach, which is the best in terms of analysis. So there is nothing right or wrong. What kind of justification you have, that makes the difference. Right. So creating a spreadsheet, creativity, and so on. Right. Now, these are some of the problems. Again, I will not elaborate. Few things I will touch upon. These are the problems of assessment in technical education, particular. Okay. Some of the problems I think I have already touched upon, but we do have these things in our assessment system. As far as the assessment is concerned, we do have problems like more focus on certification. Still, we are having eligibility criteria wherein, let's say, if you are having a degree in BTech in data science, it may be possible that you may be rejected, because if, let's say, if it is not there in the eligibility criteria, it may happen that you may get refusal for that. But so we have very hard boundaries. Okay, so we need to, that is what this NEP talks about, right? Wherein you do not have any hard boundaries. So undue focus on marks. We normally have a fixed passing criteria. Again, we need to change it. Let's say let us give it to the you can say the professor, who will decide depending upon the difficulty level. Okay, whether the passing criteria should be 40 or 35 or maybe 66, right, out of 80. Okay, let's the question paper is very easy. He may set up more than 70% as the criteria. So, but here what is at stake? Now, if you look at the autonomy implementation particularly, we do have questions with regard to the integrity of the teachers and so on. So, I'm not saying that it is all the time true, but we do have these problems. One has to accept it. What is the solution? Again, we need to think, brainstorm, and come up with our own ways of dealing with this kind of scenario. Lack of qualitative feedback. Not normally we are reluctant to take feedback. And let's say if you do not take feedback, okay, you will never ever improve. I tell you, right? See, this has been introduced formally. In probably 2016, 7th Pay Commission and so on, this 360-degree feedback. But I'll share you, I'm not boosting up myself, but I'll share you one small story with you. That is when I used to teach way back in 1990. In those days also, I used to ask probably in the last session of my class, what do you feel? Just come up with two things which you feel is good as far as my teaching is concerned. Okay, don't look at me as a person. Okay, as far as my job is concerned, just tell me two things, okay, which is good, and two things which are bad. So you will be surprised, and that is again correct. Still I am struggling to conquer those drawbacks. So the student used to come up, sir, everything is okay, but those days we used to have in machine turbo button. Nowadays that is not there in PCs, but those days it was there, turbo. Okay, so they used to say, sir, your turbo button is always on, you speak so fast that many times we do not realize. Okay, so that is again, one has to listen. Okay, and that's why I'm saying the feedback is important. Okay, gradually I have you can say tried to cope up, okay, change my way, the way in which I used to talk and so on. So that's why I'm saying the feedback is important, right? Lack of assessment of high level outcomes. Okay, as I was saying, that is up to 3 we are comfortable, but 4, 5, 6 are missing. Complex outcome, that is 2, 3, 3, 4, again that is completely not there. Negligible assessment in psychomotor and affective domain. Okay, work-based learning, and that is where these changes are taking place. NEP is all about all these aspects. Liberal marking. Let's say if autonomy has been granted to you, okay, most of the institution they are misusing. I'm not saying that there are again good and bad people, right? But most of the time it is all the time. Whenever the student passes, he or she is having 9.0 as the pointer. Minimum 8 is the pointer. How come this is possible? You have to have a normal distribution. Okay, Bell type curve. Only 10% should be in A plus. Okay, rest of the students should be either on left hand side or right hand side. But that is never ever the case. Okay, I've seen even government institutions working in the similar manner. So we are, as a matter of fact, we are the biggest enemy of our own student. Okay, what you are doing, you are putting your headache to the outside. Let the society decide. Let the industry decide. Okay, but you do not want to take a blame on yourself, right? So lack of assessment culture and language of assessment. Again, here NEP is contributing actively in this regard, wherein we have adopted a 3 language formula. Earlier, it was not there. Now, the students will be allowed even to write answers in Hindi or Marathi. Okay, English is a foreign language for us. So you may be knowing the things, but let's say if you are not good in that language, it may be possible that you are not able to communicate properly, right? So that is why the changes are taking place in this regard, right? Now, having said this, let us try to understand what are various assessment. Again, I'll be going fast because I think, yeah. So we have got around 30-35 minutes, okay, because I'll take some hands-on some of the tools, okay, whatever you feel appropriate. I don't know. I know you. This is Sunday and I am spoiling your Sunday, but anyway, you have to bear me for 30-35 minutes more, right? So assessment is an ongoing process. Evaluation is a judgment or determination of the quality of performance or product or use of process against a standard. What is it? Meaning thereby, whatever you do in your, let's say in the all the 8th semester, as a matter of fact, you carry out what they call it as the assessment. Okay, it is a continuous assessment. Many times we call it as a progressive assessment or PA1, PA2, and something like that. But evaluation is when your students are passed out and they join some organization. There they are evaluated, as a matter of fact, against some performance metrics, and then they are labeled good, bad, or satisfactory, right? So assessment is a continuous process, right? Now, assessment normally, again, you allow me to speak little bit harsh, okay, again, it may not be correct all the time, but we take it very casually. We do it in so casual manner, I tell you. I do not want to indulge into what are the problems with them, right? Whether the honorarium is less or so on. But it is one of the most difficult tasks, I tell you. Just like cooking is easy, but washing the utensil is difficult. Okay. So similarly, delivering in a class or lecturing in a class is easy, but conducting assessment is the most difficult task, I tell you. Let's say if you take it very seriously, it is one of the most difficult tasks, I tell you. But we are, most of the time, we are lenient, we are not so serious about these aspects, okay, and that makes the difference, as a matter of fact, okay. And if you look at the institutions, why your most of the people, most of the students from Vidarbha region, they opt for colleges of University of Pune, SPPU. The only reason is they do not have these kind of a pointer, I tell you. See, getting 6.5 or 7 is bit difficult over there. Whereas in our university, I'm not criticizing, we are all responsible for that. Okay. I'm not criticizing anybody, but we are so lenient. What is it? And that is not, or in long term, it will not work. That is my personal opinion. You may have some different views on those aspects, but definitely, and I very well remember that is whenever there is some quality, okay, the quality will survive for long, right? So, having said this, how we can embed technology into assessment, that is what is T. Okay. So T is coming up for you. That is technology enabled assessment. So earlier there was some misconception with regard to all these tools, that they are good at only assessing the objective type of testing. But what has happened over a period of time, even for subjective assessment, these tools are nowadays equally powerful, right? So subjective means a descriptive sort of thing. So again, there are a lot of tools wherein these things are nowadays, they are embedded, they are built in. Okay, so where faculty intervention is required. So that is again not the issue with regard to all these tools. Okay, then again there are the various types of assessment. I'll not talk much on those because we will not have any time for some hands-on on some of the tools. So diagnostic assessment, summative assessment. Okay. So diagnostic is, see, the idea of assessment is, again, one has to keep in mind, it is not a tool for penalizing somebody. Okay. It is a tool for assessing or identifying the problem. Just like most of the time, okay, some of the good administrator, they feel that they should use the confidential reports or performance appraisal as a tool for maybe some correcting, maybe carrying out some corrections in the system, but that is not correct all the time. Okay, it will work up to some extent, and then let's say if you cross the limit, it will not affect anything. Right? On the similar line, when it comes to dealing with students, we must use all these tools just for the diagnostic purpose and those categories to understand exactly where the learners stand, what is wrong, okay, how to correct it. Then you can take some corrective actions, okay, and come up or change your strategy in imparting instruction and so on. Summative assessment normally contributing to the final score. Integrative assessment is there, which are activities carried out on digital devices. Again, for all these categories, you have some or the other tool available, right? Whether it is integrative, whether it is summative, whether it is diagnostic, and so on. So these are some of the tools, okay, which is there in on this particular slide under various categories. Some of the tools you may be using it, okay, extensively because you are all from a professional college. Okay, but as I've repeatedly telling you that this course is not intended for a particular community, right? You may be using it. It is intended for all the faculties. So normally we used to have participants from all the faculties. Okay, science, art, humanities, and accordingly this session has been planned. Okay, so for summative assessment, again you have hot potatoes, Classgeek is there, Google Forms are there, then e-portfolios are there. Flipgrid is there, Geoparty Lab is there, and so on and so forth, right? So for each category, we have some or the other tool. Now it is up to you to decide which tool to use, but how to decide whether a particular tool is standard or not. So there is a model. This is probably the last topic as far as this session is concerned. Okay, is what they call it as the SAMR model. Okay, it was developed by Dr. Rubin. Okay, and it is a framework for examining how technology is adopted in a classroom. Okay, so this SAMR criteria or SAMR model, you can very well apply to any of these tools, and you can decide upon whether that particular tool is standard or not, whether you should adopt it or you should not. Right. So the each character of this SAMR stands for something or the other. You may apply it on the Google form itself and just identify whether it is standard or not. So substitution, wherein the student can fill out the forms online. Let's say, let's try to apply it on Google form. This facility is there. So first criteria is met. Augmentation, teachers can curate the students' responses to the spreadsheet automatically. Again, this is there in Google form. Third is modification. Teachers and students can collaboratively analyze, contrast, and compare results. Okay. Then this is there in Google form itself. Redefinition. Teachers can reach unlimited learners all around the world. Again, that facility is there. So in short, we can conclude that Google form is a standard tool which one can use for assessment purpose, right? So this way, there are numerous tools. You may apply this criteria, SAMR criteria on all of them, and you may conclude later on whether it is standard or not. Right. Now, this is with regard to hot potatoes. Okay, we'll just try to have a look at maybe a few of the tools. Okay, not all. Okay, this is a bundle of tools. The idea behind putting this on the first go is it is a freeware. Okay, you can download it and start using it without any problem. It is a bundle of tool wherein each tool is intended for some or the other purpose. JQuiz for quiz, JClose for fill in the blanks, crossword puzzle, match, jumbled sentence. Okay, and the masher is there. Masher is typically used for combining it into one unit. I'll be going a little fast. Okay, I know. And let's say if you feel that, sir, these tools we are already using. Okay, you may ask me to skip it. Okay, we'll not we will not have discussion on those tools. Okay, this is typically the layout screenshot for the JQuiz, but we will be having some hands-on if time permits. This is for fill in the blanks, so you can do it quite easily. You can create a crossword. Okay, you may go ahead with JMatch, wherein the match the following sort of exercise. As I said, this is a freeware. This is a jumbled sentence, that is JMix, and so on. Okay. Now to conclude, okay, before we proceed with the various tools, okay, these are the two key takeaways as far as this session is concerned. Okay, you need to identify at which level of Bloom you are working and how you can move forward to the higher level, right? So that is the, you can say, the bottom line of this particular session. Okay, now having said this, let's say if you have any queries, okay, with regard to whatever we have covered, you can fire it now. And otherwise we will continue with some demonstration of some of the tools. Okay. Yes. I hope you people are with me.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. So any specific query you would like to ask?
No, sir. Since you have fired so much, we are still digesting it.
Oh. May I know who is speaking, sir? May I know who is speaking?
This is Dr. Kaushik Joshi. Two nice sessions, sir. Two nice sessions. And particularly, I would like to thank you personally for yesterday's session on World Economic Forum's report, sir. That was very nice. That was very nice. That was very nice. But it is very good, sir. As always, you are a very fine teacher. I know it already. But since you have uttered that word, I am saying it's very good. It's very good, sir.
Thank you, sir. Apart from that, let's say if you have any query, I'll be happy to answer. Please
no, not at all, sir. You are just fun to watch and fun to learn from you. No doubt about it.
Thanks for, sir. I am an ordinary teacher just like you, sir. And I'm an ordinary person.
No. I know you personally, sir. I know you personally. And the outputs that you are you can be judged by your outcomes. I know your outcomes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
For all those comments, but we will have still 30 minutes to go. But let's say Okay, I'll show you some of the tools. Okay, just let me know. Let's say,
Sure.
yeah, and I'll
Sure,
just try
sir. Sure.
to
Sure.
show you. Okay, I'll not show you all
Sure,
the
sir. Sure.
tools with their the entire functionality, but we will have some hands-on on some of the tools. Right. So let
Sure,
me
sir.
begin.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let me begin with the very first one. Okay, I know there are people from computer science as well. Okay, your college is well known to me. Most of my the earlier student, even my PhD students. Again, there are a lot of people who knows me, right? So thank you for Joshi sir for all your comments. Let me show you some of the tools. Let's say if you are using it, please let me know so that what we will do, we'll skip that tool. The very first one is. I'll not go to hot potatoes. I don't know how many of you are using it, but let's say if you want me to go for a hot potatoes, we can go ahead with that. But the idea behind putting that hot potato in the discussion was, since it is a freeware, nobody is the owner, right? So that's why I've kept it. But we will start with something which has come up in the recent past. The very first one is what they call it as the uh, with regard to Google. Okay, any idea about one of the tool Notebook LM, whether you are using it? Notebook LM. Let's say if you are using it, I will skip that. But this is again a very fantastic tool for teaching learning purposes. Okay, not for assessment, but Notebook LM. Yes, sir. Kaushik sir. Whether you are
Yes, sir.
using,
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes.
you are
I
using
have
it.
used it once, sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes, sir. I have used it once. I have used it once.
Then I will skip it. I will skip it.
Sure, sir.
Okay.
Sure. You could. You can. You can.
Okay. So the other tools which are typically for you can say on the similar line is what they call it as. Would you like me to go ahead with some research tools like say Research Rabbit? Whether you are using it, Research Rabbit. Okay,
No, sir.
because
As far as
uh,
Research Rabbit is concerned, particularly, I have not used it.
okay. So I will go ahead with Research Rabbit first, sir. Right.
Okay, sir.
So
Okay.
let me show you how fantastic this tool is and how you can use it. Okay. For using all these tools, you do not require anything other than your Gmail account, right? Okay. You need to sign up. Let's say if you are a first-time user, you need to sign up. You may sign up using your Gmail account. Okay. So this is Research Rabbit. This is typically used for. I'll show you all the tools which you can use in a ethical manner. Okay. I'll not show you anything which doesn't fall under the ethical category of those tools, right? This tool is a fantastic tool for carrying out literature survey. Okay, carrying out literature survey. Let's say if you are new to this, okay, you may let's say if you are a little bit conversant with what you call it as Zotero. Okay, so as I said, if you want to use it, you may use it with Zotero as well. That is, let's say if some stuff you have already gathered on a Zotero. What is Zotero? Zotero is a referencing tool, right? So if you have some collection in the Zotero which you want to import it as it is, this tool has got that facility. So what I did basically, I have simply logged into my account. Okay, and this is where what you call it as is the Zotero. These are the two collection which I have already imported into this Research Rabbit. Okay, as I said, this tool is typically used for carrying out literature survey. Okay, now you may come up with an argument wherein you will say, okay, sir, Google is there, but there are limitations with Google. And how this is more powerful than Google, okay, that we will see. Okay, so you may import it. Let's say if you have some stuff which you have gathered from, or a collection which you have gathered from Zotero, that facility is there. Let's say if you do not want to do so, but still you want to carry out some research, some literature survey, you can go to this new collection tab. Okay, something like this will appear wherein you can talk about AI in, let's say, uh, let us try something on precision agriculture, which is a hot cake nowadays. Okay, AI in precision agriculture. This is the title which I have given. Okay. and at present it is showing 0 papers over there. Okay, what you need to do next is simply click on this 0 or these 3 dots. Okay, and then moment you click on that 0 or 3 dots, okay, you will find something like this on the screen. Okay, wherein you can go for adding papers. Okay, simply go for this add papers. Okay, and here you are supposed to write the area you are actually searching for. AI in, let's say, precision agriculture. Okay, go for a search. Okay, now moment you go for search, you will find that 2 tabs will appear there. Let's say if you want to search from the biomedical and life sciences perspective, you can click on this tab, or let's say if you want to select all subject areas, you can go ahead with this all subject areas. By default, all subject area is selected. Right, now these are the papers which are coming up in the precision agriculture. Okay, not only the paper, along with the journal. Okay, then you have some, you can say, the abstract of all those papers are appearing here. Okay, so you can go through the abstract and take a decision or a call whether this paper is relevant to your search or not, and accordingly you can add it to your collection. So let's say I am adding randomly, add to collection, add to collection. Okay, add to collection, and so on. Let's say 7-8 papers we will simply add. Okay, there are many, as a matter of fact. Okay, if you scroll down, you will find that. Okay, now, in case of Google, the things are a little bit different. Okay, you need to open all those things in new tab and then download that paper and then see the abstract and so on. It is a AI based search, you may call it as, little bit. Okay, so on in the background, actually, okay, based on your context, the prompt, actually I have not given a very good prompt, I should say, very generic sort of a prompt I have given, but still I am getting some result. So what has happened? Certain papers I have added. How many papers I have added? 17 papers I have added. Now let us try to click on these 17. Okay. Okay. Now what has happened? If you look at this right hand side, okay, it is coming up with some, what should I say, the abstract. Okay, and some authors it has identified on its own. These are the authors. Okay, maybe some similar work and so on. Even you can specify the timeline. Okay, I don't know why this has been disabled. Okay, say for example this, right? So it has identified some 25 authors and it has suggested some 16 more authors for me to explore. Now this is basically it is doing it on its own. So similar works around 125. Okay, and if you look at this, now it is not only showing me in the pictorial form, that is how these authors are connected with each other. Okay, and who are the potential author. Now this way I can narrow down my search. Okay, and I can quite easily, by simply a single click, I can identify who are the potential authors, who are the pioneering work in this case. Okay, even I can define the timeline. Let's say I want to search between 2020 to 2025, 5 year down the line. That can be done with the help of this timeline tab. Okay, even by author, I can make searches. Okay, then again, it is coming up 517 authors. Okay, so even let's say while writing your literature review paper, you can take up these diagram as it is. There is no problem as such. Okay, because it is showing you how they are connected. Okay, and this way you can go to n number of level. Okay, this is, I am doing it randomly. We are getting some random responses, but the idea is this is a very powerful tool. And again, I am not showing you the entire functionality. I am simply exposing you to what it can do for you. Right. So this is a research rabbit. This can be used for carrying out extensive literature survey quite easily. Okay, quite easily. The another tool on this front is what they call it as is the illicit. So let's say you want to synthesize or analyze certain papers. You may use this. It is for, again, there is no rocket science involved in using this tool. You need to sign up, first time user. Again, the beta version you will get free of cost. Pro is paid, as you can see here. Right now, I'm using free version, okay, with some limited functionality. So this is typically used for illicit, is typically used for synthesizing and analyzing certain papers. So paper analysis and synthesis, which normally we carry out in literature survey, it again requires a lot of time and energy. So that can be done in an automated manner by using this tool. Okay, but the limitation as far as the free tool is concerned is not more than 4 columns. Now let's see. Let's try to write some prompt once again here. AI in, let's say, precision agriculture. Right. So if you look at this, that is, you will find that it is not only coming up with papers along with the abstract by default. The very first column would be abstract. Okay, as you can see here. Okay, but let's say I want to analyze these 4 or 5 paper in terms of the main finding or the methodology used by these papers. Okay, so I can simply click on these tabs. Okay, summary is abstract or summary is already there. Let's say I want to know the intervention or the outcome measured or the limitation. On all these parameters, I can do it quite easily with the help of, let's say, the methodology I'm interested in. So as you can see here, one more column is being added and now it is being populated by the required stuff. So it is doing it in an online manner. This methodology of all those paper, okay, in textual form, okay, will be there, right, within no time. So this way, now you can see here, right, you can see here all the papers. But as far as this free version is concerned, I cannot go more than, let's say, outcome measured. Now outcome measured, again, the third column which is being added here, as you can see here. Okay, now it is coming up now this text, again, you may utilize it for your purposes. Okay, outcome measured. Okay, this is the next one, right? And but as I was talking about, that is as far as since it is a free version, you cannot go more than 4 column. See, it is saying column limit reached. Okay, but it is not so difficult. What you can do, you can delete these columns and again do it, or you may go for a pro kind of a purchase. Okay, I am not promoting this product. The idea is to show you wherein you may have some 20 columns or 200 columns, 200 papers, and so on. Right now, it is giving me some limited papers along with some limited column functionality. But this is just for explaining that is how it works and whether you can use it. Let's say you may go ahead with some institutional subscription as well. Okay, so this is the second tool. One is the Research Rabbit. Second is the Illicit. The third one is what they call it as the consensus. Okay, this again you may use it. So consensus is there. Again, it will again the beta version is free, but the pro version is paid. Okay. So this is again one can use it. It will not only analyze, it will give you some abstract summary, and you may do lot many things here by simply clicking on that. Now it is showing me the resource sources from where it has gathered this, right? So this is not there in case of your Google search. Okay, normally you need to find out sources on your own, download the paper, and do lot many things in a manual manner. Okay, so all those things can be automated by using these tools, right? So this is Research Rabbit, Consensus, and Illicit. Okay, 3 tools on research front. Okay, one tool is again very handy, which you may use it for let's say assessment purpose, or maybe let's say you want to carry out some teaching learning instructional purpose. This is again, see, I am a fan of free and open source software, right? FOSS philosophy, right? So we have a tool, what they call it as, even though it is very fantastic, to the very popular, most of you must be knowing it, I am not aware, but this net logo is there. right? So see, this is how the academic fraternity they works, right? This is again a academic project. Okay, so ccl.northeastern.edu, it is an academic website. This is the URL. Net logo is the tool, and you may use it for you can say complementing your teaching learning. Now, how I will show you just within 2 to 3 minutes, right? So it is there are thousands of models. Okay, irrespective of your discipline, whether you are a man from physics, chemistry, mathematics, arts, humanities, or computer science. Okay, I'll be showing you with regard to computer science. So simply go to this. There are some built-in models. Okay, go to this library. Okay, under library you will find various subject areas, and you will find the models available in those areas. Say for example, arts. This is biology. This is chemistry, physics, and so on. Okay, let us go to chemistry and physics, and then so on. Let us go to computer science. Okay, wherein I'll show you that is how to use this model. Okay, so in case of computer science, one of the topic rather which is very difficult to explain with the help of a chalkboard kind of an environment is the dining philosophers problem. That is interprocess communication and synchronization. I will not talk much on those things. The idea is to simply demonstrate. Those who are from computer science, they are well acquainted with this, right? So go to this dining philosophers, right? Even if you are new, no worries. Okay, it will work for you. Okay, you do not require any technical knowledge to use it, right? Entire documentation is available. What is it, how to use it, okay, how it works. Okay, so as I was referring to, that is this is dining philosophers problem is something wherein philosophers are sitting on a table and they are sharing fork. They are sharing some resources. Now the same analogy can be extended to explaining the computing resources, that is memory, and so on, right? So this model, you can run it in two different ways. See, the beauty of this tool is this is how open they are. That is, you may download the entire source code on your machine and you can play with it. Or the other way around, let's say if you want to run it in the NetLogo web, that facility is again there. So we'll just try to run it in the web. Okay. So for each model, the layout would be different. It all depends upon the kind of model you are dealing with. Let's say we are dealing with this dining philosophers problem. Now, on the left hand side, you will find that the setup kind of tabs are there. You can even change the speed of the model, how it is to be run, and so on. Okay, go to this simply setup. Okay, let's say I've taken 20, I may change it to 25, 26, whatever I feel appropriate. Okay, and even hungry chance, free chance, I will not elaborate on these things, but it is simply impossible to explain with a chalk and a board, right? Whether you want cooperation amongst them, okay, and so on. Let us try to run it. Okay, you may say go and go once. So let us say go. Okay. Now, what is happening? All those forks are being shared among those arbitrary number of philosophers. Why? They are taken up as a philosophers? They are philosophers, meaning thereby they are thinking all the time. So, how they are consuming the resources, that is again depicted in terms of beautiful graphs, right? Wherein this thinking, hungry, and eating is being depicted in different colors. Okay, number of philosophers. Okay, then resource allocation, how the computing resources, how the resources are being consumed, okay, and so on. Now the beauty of this tool is you can go to this command center. Okay, now you can change the speed as well. Let's say if you want to analyze it, every step of it, you may reduce the speed. Okay, you may reduce the speed. Okay, so it will work accordingly so that you can see how it is happening, right? You can visualize, you can ask the student to understand this. Then the net logo code is there, which you may download it, all right? And you may ask your student to modify this code. Okay, again, you may search it to submit it to the NetLogo community. If they find it little bit interesting, okay, they can accept your proposal, and your tool, your model may be published on this NetLogo website along with your credentials and so on. So there are a lot many things you can do with this NetLogo. Once again, okay, this is the model info, what is it, and so on, right? How it works and so on, right? So this is our NetLogo. Then on assessment front, we have lot many tools, but I think we have reached almost 126, 127, right? So I'll not take much of your time. Okay, we'll stop here. But before that, let's say if there are any question, I'll be happy to answer. And you may explore on your own that hot potatoes and the other tools. Soccerity is again there. One last tool, maybe within a minute or so, I'll show you with regard to this, the gathering the feedback. Let's say if you are engaged in a online activity and you want to gather the feedback. So the answer garden is there for you, right? And the URL is answergarden.ch. Okay, answergarden.ch. Right. So this is the again a tool which you may use it for. Let's say if you are delivering in an online mode and you want to gather the feedback or you want to brainstorm on a particular topic, you may use this answer garden. This is answergarden.ch. Okay. Simply click on this plus sign, which is nothing but the create an answer garden. Okay. Within minute, I can show you this tool. That's why I've taken up this one. Okay, 2-3 minutes we are having with us. So feedback, you may say feedback is the title. Let's say I'm creating an answer garden. Now these are the modes in which it works. You may have brainstorm, you may have classroom, moderator, logged, and so on. Okay, then you can expect the answer from the audience. Either limit you can set to 20 characters or 40 characters, depending upon your need. Okay, you may set some password as well. Okay, you may allow the participants to use lowercase, uppercase, or no change, and so on. That can be done here. Okay, or the last button is the create. Once you go for this create, this answer garden has been created. Let's say I've created for feedback. Okay, now I need to share this with the you can say the either the student or let's say for in this case I'll share it with you, or that is participants. So you can simply click on this, that is answergarden.ch slash 5024229, and you may give your responses. So let's say I'm giving on my own. Okay, so it will be populated here. Then you can do lot many things here. This is not the end. Okay, you may analyze the response. Okay, this is okay. You may export it. You can even share a QR code for the participant to respond. Okay, moderate it, expand it. Okay, admin, and then refresh. Okay, so this is all as far as this session is concerned. I have tried my level best to cover two important aspects of NEP 2020. One of them was the research and development, how as a we need to change our role from a teacher to a researcher, I should say, and what are the expectation of you can say the regulating agencies like UGC and AICT from teachers. We have at the end we have tried to have a look at, but due to shortage of time, I was not able to demonstrate you other tools. But there are many. You are all techo savvy. I very well know. You can explore it on your own. But my humble request is we need to adapt to these changing requirements. Let's say to cut the long story short, let me tell you one thing. That is, this is for sure. Let's say if you do not change, if you still feel that chalkboard is the best method of teaching, okay, now, I don't think that there is a place for you 5 years down the line. I'm making again very cautious and bold statement, but this is just coming out of the experiences, right? You must have seen when core banking took place in the banking sector. Okay, what has happened? Those who were reluctant, I very well remember 95, 2000 probably, right? Those who were reluctant to adapt to the use of computers, they have been forcefully retired along with their retirement benefits because they refuse to change, right? So on the similar line, it may happen. It may happen. I'm telling you, these possibilities you cannot deny. If you do not change, it may happen. You will be thrown out of the systems, right? With this note, cautious note, I thank you all for patience hearing as far as this session is concerned. And sorry to spoil your Sunday. I am well aware that engaging session on Sunday is a bit difficult, but this was there. Okay, this was what was actually expected. Let me stop sharing my stuff. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed the session, but if there are any queries, okay, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Participants, if there are any questions or the queries, you can please note down here. Uh, then we will conclude. Please, anyone.
No, sir. No query at all. As
No
far as the
query.
session is concerned, it was very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And particularly, once again, I would like to thank you for yesterday's session of Thomas, sir. I think he was
Yes, sir.
too good. He
Yes,
was
sir.
too good. Too good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. We
Thank
are
you, sir.
trying
Thank
our
you.
level
Thank
best to give you the best of the resource person. Tomorrow
Sure,
again,
sure.
you will be having one director from Preeti Suresh, madam, will be talking to you on IKS, okay, Indian Knowledge System, and the another person, I think Professor, he is from Kashmir. He will be talking on academic leadership and governance. So tomorrow we'll be having two sessions, but the timing would be 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, regular timing. Okay.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so on behalf of the both organizers, I extend my sincere thanks to Professor Atik sir for such a wonderful session towards this research and development and integration of technology in our research as well as the curriculum. I once again extend my sincere thanks to all the participants as well as Professor Atik sir, being the Sunday and the holiday, but all the participants are steadily connected to this virtual platform for this flagship program. So with this note, with the kind consent of Professor Atik sir, I would like to declare that this session will be over here. Thank you everyone.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.